Hello fellow grave crawlers, and welcome to ZTV Games. I am Paiper Zombie, your host with you as always. And for today's episode, we're going to take a quick break from Stray and touch back on Evil Dead the game. But we're not here to play for this episode. Instead, we're going to be talking about the survivors and everything they bring to the table, as well as demons and everything they bring to the table. So we're doing a character overview, and we've got a lot to overview. So let's jump in. Let's go ahead and jump into it, starting with our survivors. In case you don't know, you do have two sides that you could play as, and that is the survivor or the Kandarian demon. So good side, bad side. So we're going to be loading up the tutorial to help us out with this. And as a survivor, we'll choose this, but as a survivor, you and up to 3 other people, so the team is going to be made up of 4, will be placed on any one of 3 maps. Unfortunately, at this time, there is no choice about which map you get to go to. The game just randomly chooses where to send you to. Once on the map, survivors will have 30 minutes to complete their mission, which is set up in 2 stages. So we go ahead, let's pick our character, and you do get a time limit, as you can see that up there. So let's go ahead, let's select.
I thought I could hide. What a joke.
We'll take leader Ash, and as you can see, everything's broken down into categories. You got leaders, warriors, hunters, and support, and each one of them does something different, and we'll get into that shortly.
This is Professor Raymond Noby. I am now certain that my recitation of the Necronomicon's passages has resurrected a Kandarian demon. I cannot rectify my error, but execution of the following instructions may yet dispel the spirit.
So you just heard what he just said. So this is their first stage.
There are several pieces of a map hidden nearby. Gather them to ascertain the location of the lost pages of the Necronomicon and Kandarian Dagger. You'll need them.
All right, so he said that there are several pieces of a map. Ignore that. I don't know why they said that there are several pieces of the map. There's only 3. So you will only have to collect 3 pieces of the map before you move on to the next stage. So that's what that icon in the center on your left center is all about. That looks like 3 kind of pieces all split up. That is that's going to tell you how many pieces of the map you have. So let's go ahead, and the cool thing is that when you're actually looking for the map, all 3 survivors are looking for the same map piece. So it's not going to be one survivor is over here looking for their own map piece while another survivor is off in a whole nother area looking for their map piece. It's not like that. Like, it's universal. Everybody is looking for the same map piece. And one thing about the map pieces is that they appear in sequence. So you have to get the first map piece in order for the second map piece to appear. And then you have to get the second map piece in order for the third map piece to appear. So that's how that works with collection. So let's go ahead and let's go about that, shall we? So what this will do is, see how that says Camp Greenbird right there? So if you hit your button, it'll take you to your map. And we can see all of our locations. Now, normally there'll be a lot more locations on your map here. And as you can see, you've got your key over in the corner. On my way, look here, and dangerous place is all on that's your inventory. That's not what you want. That's if you hit right trigger, it'll throw you into your inventory. But you can also mark places. So say for instance, you want to mark this area here. You get to pick which one you want. Is it a dangerous place? Are you on your way there? Or do you want to look here? Look here. So that's where we want to go, because it says go to camp near Camp Greenbird. So that's going to be our destination. So once we do that, or your teammates may have already marked it, you want to find your way there. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward because this tutorial is not in sequence. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward and take a look and run for the map pieces. All right, so here we are at Camp Greenbird. We have finally made our way there. So now, as you can see, when we approach, you see that indicator? That indicator will always appear when you are near a map piece. So like say how we walk up from right here, you can see it from right here. So even if we're all the way over here, you're always going to see that indicator. So that's always going to tell you what building something is in. If you approach a building and you do not see that indicator, it probably means it's not in that building. So now, this is what I meant by map pieces only appearing in sequence. Your second map piece is right here. You just can't see it yet. Why? Because you must collect this first piece. And I'm gonna turn so you can see the other piece light up. Let me see if I can get it here. Watch. That's one piece. Now, bam, there's our second piece. So see, you cannot mess with that. So yeah, that's pretty much what you need to do. So we collect. So let's go ahead. This is our second piece. And then it'll tell us, see, it'll keep telling you this. So that means that all the pieces are here. Now, normally when you do this, all the pieces are not going to be in the same place. So that's one of the things. That's one thing to keep in mind, is that all of the pieces are not going to be in the same place. Normally they'll be more spread out than they are here. So see how everything is pretty much close together. Hello. You want me to shoot you? I can shoot you.
Let's boogie.
I could do that. That can be arranged. Miss. Yeah, I can line this headshot up. Person is pretty resistant.
With the final piece of the map in your possession, only the demon stands between you and the necessary ritual items. The lost pages of the Necronomicon and Kandarian Dagger.
Alright, so now as you can see, these two things have appeared. And that is what your second and third icons are up there at the top. Those are the Necronomicon pages on your left, and to your right is the Kandarian Dagger. Now normally they will be spaced further apart, but because it's the tutorial, everything is going to be put right here close to us. So normally what you do is you go ahead and you run over to these, and these are what you call your two objectives. And this begins the beginning of stage 2, or phase 2, if you want to call it that. And pretty much what your objective becomes at this point is to go to these locations and collect them. Now when you go, hello, take care of her real fast. So when you go over to these locations, it will begin a timer that counts down, and you have to stay in that area, and you'll see the whole aura, you'll see the zones once we go over there and activate them. And you have to stand in that area for a certain amount of time, and then once your time is done, then you'll be able to go ahead and collect the item. While you're doing that, the demon is going to be sending in their minions to try and stop you from collecting the item. So they can't do anything to the item, they can't attack the item. All they can try to do is just slow you down from collecting it. So how they'll do that is that as long as you don't run out of the area of the aura, then it won't reset your timer. But watch out, because demons will try to lure you out of that area, and if they do it, then if you stay away from it for too long, then it'll cause the whole thing to reset, and then you have to start from the beginning again. Now the more survivors you have doing this, the faster, actually the less time it takes for you to collect the item. So makes sense, right? So if you have, so it's easier if you have all 4 of your survivors together versus just 3 or just 2 or just 1. Now, something that does suck for a demon, but is awesome for the survivors, is that you can activate both. As of now, you can activate both of these at the same time. So you can have one person or 2 people go get one objective, and then
dirt nap.
Since we got people trying to interrupt us, which is very rude. So, pretty much we've got our two objectives here. Alright, apologies for that, everybody. Ooh, hello. Oh, really?
Oh yeah, lifetime of kicking evil's butt.
Alright, so before we were rudely interrupted. Ah, here comes another one. That's right, we'll give her kisses. Alright, so here we go with activation. See that aura?
The survivors have begun to collect the lost pages of the Necronomicon. Be vigilant. Spirits of the book will stop at nothing to halt this process. You hold the lost pages of the Necronomicon, the rarest and most powerful artifacts in our world.
Now, it actually already cleared it, but what I was going to do was go ahead and activate both of these at the same time so that you could see that they could both be active.
Hey, Evil, why don't you eat my butt?
I don't know how you did that. But I know how you did that. Alright, you nasty demon.
The group has begun to collect the Kandarian Dagger, initiating a period of battle against the dead. Remain close to ensure its collection. The survivors have taken the Kandarian Dagger. This weapon is key to evil's demise.
Yep, and upon winning, for your first objective, you will get
both the
supply
lost
crate.
pages and the Kandarian Dagger have been collected. Now, prepare yourself to battle the Dark Ones.
And then, once we gather these, then what happens next?
I feel better.
And see, we've got weapons. We'll be
Stronger.
talking about this later on in the tutorial, but this is not too bad for an explosive crossbow. Right on.
Sometimes a man needs matches. For me, that
Rate
time
of
is
fire, 130. Let's go ahead and let's take that. We'll leave that. All right, so now that we've gotten that, let's go ahead and let's move on to the final conflict. All right, and our final conflict, if you notice, there's a third icon right there that's now lit up in red. As you can see, the other two things have been picked up. So your final conflict, which leads you to the end, is going to be a meeting with the old ones. And this will appear on your map, and it will look like this. So you'll always know where they are. And what we do is we watch out because they will attack. But you hold down Y, and they will send demons. And for some reason, I am not swinging straight. Demon is too busy trying to get behind me. So as you can see, they will attack. And if you get hit, all right. So that's one bar they're down. That's 2 bars they're down. And you usually have to go 3 bars. And you just hold down Y and charge your attack.
The book will now commence closing the breach unless it is destroyed by the demon. Protect it.
Let's hurry it up. And then that exposes the book. Normally, that'll take a certain amount of time where you have to defend the book, and what you want to make happen, or what you want to make sure it doesn't happen, is that the demons
You will manage to close the breach, but if by some chance you have an old man's eternal gratitude.
All right.
That, my friends, is how we do things in the Wolverine state.
Okay,
First
shut up.
round's on me. The rest are on you.
All right, shut up. So what you want to do is make sure that the demon, because once the Necronomicon is exposed, the demon can attack it. Now, the good thing is that the Necronomicon is really strong, so it actually takes a whole lot of attacks from the demon to destroy it. However, in that last phase, the demon will either be trying to attack the Necronomicon while you defend it, or they'll be trying to kill you and your other 3 teammates. So the objective is to make sure that you all stay alive and you keep the Necronomicon protected until the timer runs out. And once the timer runs out, which you'll be able to see it, once the timer runs out, bam, that's where you see the pages flip, and that'll be the round for you. So pretty much that is yours. That's going to be your sequence of events that you go to. The only thing that changes is, like I said, the location of your objectives and then the location of your old ones. But that's what you're going to be doing round for round as a survivor. So now that we've gotten that done, let's go ahead and let's talk about the roles that each of the survivors can play. So let's go ahead and let's jump into that real fast. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at each of our different categories that we can be as a survivor. As you can see, a leader is going to be specializing in group buffs. Your warriors are going to specialize in melee DPS, so these are going to be your people. If you like to melee, these are going to be the people that you're going to want to play as. Hunters are, of course, your ranged characters, so if you like using guns, you're going to be picking one of these characters. And then support, these are your healers. So these are the ones that are going to be healing, with the exception of this character. He's a little bit different, and we'll get into him once we get into supports, but as far as the other two go, they are healers. And if you notice, you'll see not owned, not owned, and not owned. What this is that this comes, these are characters that are from another mode of the game called story mode. And as of right now, how the game goes is as it progresses, these characters are actually locked behind story mode. Now, some of these characters used to be locked behind story mode, but they now, as the game has progressed, they've been unlocked. So I anticipate that these characters will wind up becoming unlocked further down the line. But as for not owned, all you have to do is just complete wherever they are in your story mode. You just complete their missions and it will unlock them for you. So let's go ahead and let's jump in with Leader Ash. So how everything is set up is you'll be coming into here, and this is where you're going to be ranking up and adding all your points and stuff like that. If you'll notice, you see a big to the right, you see 47. That is my overall rank. So that's just my overall rank. Next to that, the red bar that you see, those are your points that go into your overall rank. So every time your overall rank goes up, you get 10,000, I believe it is, spirit points, which is the number that you see beneath that red bar, the 325,260. Those are your spirit points, and you earn those as well as level points when you complete a mission. Either when you complete a mission or when you're playing online, which is what you'll be doing with your team. All of those will rank up. You also have your level. If you look down at the bottom right, you'll see Ash Williams, Ash vs. Evil Dead. You'll see level 20, and you'll see skill points. That will also fill up too. And what that does is that gives the individual character themselves their own points. Because other than that, what you would do is that you would spend spirit points to fill up that level 20, and you would take it to 21. And for every level you go up, you get skill points. And so unfortunately, you can only go up to 25 skill points. So that means that you will only ever be able to put 25 points into your trees here. And how this works is that on your left, these are going to be all of your specialty talents that you bring to the game. All of these are level restricted. So you get this one at level 1, this one at level 1, then I believe you get this one at level 15, and then you get this one at level 25. But all of these are going to be the special things that your leader or in general your character is bringing to the party. Over here is going to be your universal talents. Now, these will be universal between your leaders, universal between your warriors and hunters. Pretty much all leaders are gonna have this same tree that they're gonna be looking at for them to be able to go ahead and spend their points in. So what your leaders are gonna have going for them is that they're gonna be able to, for the most part, they're focused on their auras. So for leader Ash, you got show up and blow up. And this active ability generates an explosion, damaging enemies' balance bars. And you're definitely gonna want something like that. So we'll talk about what that all means a little bit later. But 30-second cooldown, 4-meter blast radius. So that's your level 1 talent. Then you also get El Jefe. So this is your aura. This is also a level 1 talent. And you get this, and it's an aura that affects all survivors, including yourself, within range, increasing their fear resistance and damage they inflict. So that's a 15% damage boost that you're going to give your entire team, as well as a 20% fear resistance boost that you're going to give to them. So that means it's going to allow them to generate fear. It's going to take more for them to generate fear. So that's definitely something that's worth having. Old Friend, this is your level 15 talent. So you actually, some of your leaders are gonna start the match with weapons. Some of your characters are gonna start the match with weapons, whereas other ones aren't. So if you're gonna be able to start the match with a weapon, it's always gonna be over here in your left-sided panel. It's never gonna be on your right-sided panel. It'll always be a talent that's level restricted. And then, as you can see, level 25 is El Jefe Grande, which enhances my aura effects when I perform a finisher or dismember an enemy. It improves my aura effects by 100%. So that means that's so 15 plus 100% is going to be what it is, and then damage 20 plus 100%. So pretty much what that's going to mean is that your resistance is going to go up to 40, because 100% of 20 is 20%. So, and then for 15, 100% of 15% is going to go ahead and bring you up to 30. So you're going to have 30% more damage. And then you're going to wind up having 40% more fear resistance just if he gets a finisher. So you always want to look at these, because as a leader on your right side, which is what all leaders are going to share as far as their talents go, in setting up, I like to always break things down by what you get and what you're looking for. So I always look for damage, dismemberment, and balance bar buffs first. And then we can also do damage resistance, fear reductions, and cooldown reductions. And then we can also look at health and stamina, increasers and reducers, and then item detection and quick event abilities. So we'll go backwards. So what item detection and quick event abilities are these are going to be things that you remember when I was collecting earlier, when I was collecting the 2 objective items. You can lessen that time that it takes for you to have to sit there and collect those. And leaders are normally the ones that have the ability to do that. So you actually have that ability. It's called fast forward. And all leaders have access to it, which reduces the duration of the timer for objective events by 5, 7, 10, 15%. So you've got that going for you. And then also as a leader, you've also got what's called an objective detection radius. So arcane knowledge increases the range you can detect objective items. So this helps you find map pieces. So if you have this and you have that detection radius, like, you're gonna see that map piece as soon as you get into the near vicinity. You're gonna know what building it's in and everything else. So it's a good little talent to have, but it's not gonna help you do damage. Then of course you have your stamina and health increasers. So every leader is gonna get industrial strength, which gives them the ability to increase their maximum health by 10, 15, or 20%. Then of course you're gonna have your stamina reducers. And don't shake a stick at these, because these are gonna be the things that help reduce stamina usage. And you've got one that helps you as a leader, reduces the stamina cost of dodging, which is something you'll be doing a whole lot to get away from enemies. as well as running. So these are your stamina reducers. So that's gonna mean it takes you less stamina to do actions. So what we've got next is our damage resistance, fear reductions, and cooldown reductions. So for our damage resistance, as a leader, you do get the ability to reduce all damage that you take personally by 3, 5, or 10%. And you're normally gonna get that, let me see, where's that bad boy at? Out of Tougher Than Hell. So these talents, some of these talents, you're gonna see them show up like in other people's stuff, but you're gonna notice that they have different amounts. So that's gonna be one that helps you reduce your damage. And then of course you're gonna look at your shield talents. So Reinforced Amulet is gonna reduce the incoming damage that you get when you have an active shield. And the Improved Amulet is gonna increase the length of your shield bar. So your shield bars have a certain length to them, and the longer they are, the more hits it takes to deplete them. So this is good for your defenses. And then of course you've got your fear reducers, which you're always looking at. So these will actually be personal for you. Like everything on this right side is personal for the character, unless it says otherwise. Other than that, it's not going to affect your aura. But you do have a couple of things in here that affect auras, and it'll tell you. But this is Fear No Evil, so it reduces the amount of fear received from any source by 5, 10, 20%. So with Leader Ash, that's actually good to couple with his aura, because if you're gonna have personally 20 fear resistance. Then once your aura kicks in, which it should at level 1, then you're gonna have to yourself 40% fear reduction. So that really does help you out. Let's see, what else do we have? You've also got the ability to use light therapy, which increases the speed that fear lowers in lit areas. So when we go back through and I show you weapons and everything, we're gonna talk about bonfires. And that's why you'll need message, because pretty much in order to get rid of your fear, you're gonna go and you're gonna light a bonfire. And this talent is going to be what allows you to lower your fear faster when you're in lit areas, because normally you kind of have to stand around for a bit in order for it to lower. So another thing that leaders like to do is leaders like to carry extra stuff. So that's why you got deep pockets matchsticks, which increases the amount of matches you can carry by 1 or 3. You also got ammo, increases the maximum amount of ammo you can carry from 5 to 15. By 5 for the first upgrade, and then up to 15 for the second upgrade. So yeah, that's very good to have, because then that's something that you could pick up, and that's good, useful for yourself, and then it's also useful for your teammates if you happen to be picking up ammo that they'll be able to use later on down the line, but they can't necessarily hold on to themselves at the time. So those are all those talents. Echoes of the Aura, this is going to be one of your damage resistances, because pretty much what this does is teammates retain the effect of your aura for a short time after they leave its range. So you have a range that your aura affects people in, and you've got a talent that extends that aura, which is right here, called Great Influence. And then you've got a talent that is the Master of Influence, which strengthens the effects of your aura. Now this is just without having to do a finisher or nothing, so it just strengthens it. So if that's already adding strength, plus Ash, when he does a finisher, does that by 100%, yeah, it pretty much throws your stuff through the roof for a hot second there. Also, you have the ability to still help. Your aura can persist even if you are bleeding out or become a soul. And those are the states that you'll fall into when you get hurt. Is the first state you fall into is called bleeding out, into which you can be revived. And then you fall into a state called death, where your spirit can be picked up and it can be resurrected at an altar. So your spirit will also be resurrected if objectives are completed. You'll automatically be brought back. So as of right now, there is no limit to how many resurrections you can pull off in a match. The only time that it's permanent is at the very end when you're fighting against the Necronomicon, when you're fighting against the old ones in the Necronomicon. If you go down there, then it's for good, and they can't pick up your spirit and they can't bring you back. But as far as the objectives and everything leading up to that point, you can be bought back an infinite amount of times. So just be aware of that. Also, something that you also want to keep in mind is when you're doing damage to the enemies, you're going to be talking about their balance bar or dismemberment bar. What a balance bar does is most of your enemies have this little balance bar right up under their life bar. When you destroy that balance bar, then it does one of two things. Usually it dazes the enemy. So that means that the enemy stands there with stars going around its head and you get free hits. So you're always trying to look for balance bar, stuff that messes with the balance bar. Then of course you're gonna get your increase from melee weapons damage, so you can buff that up for yourself. You can also buff up your range damage. Now why would you go with this? Because these are gonna be personal abilities that are gonna help you out. Now by nature, your leaders are not going to be, since they're not DPS, you're going to be good with this, but you're not going to be as good as you would be if you were a hunter. With this, you're going to be good, but you're not going to be as good as you would be if you had have gone with a warrior instead. So it's giving you the ability to have a little something, but you won't be as good as the ones that specialize in it. However, with this, you would be better than, say, well, no, I take that back. So Wig Splitter, this just increases your headshot damage. And then the last word increases the last hit of your combo. So, and then those are all your warrior abilities. These are all your leader abilities. So that's Leader Ash. So we've talked about him. And now next, we're going to move on to, now this is Leader Annie. So Leader Annie, as you can see, she's got the same thing that Ash had, only over here on her right side, Leader Annie is who you are going to pick if you want to be a leader and you've got hunters on your side. So she's going to be specialized for helping you take those out. And as you can see, that's actually level 10, not level 15. So level 10 that you get your third talent, and then level 25 that you get your final talent. So as you can see, she's all about guns. And you're gonna use her, like I said, when you have range, because she's going to be a big support for your range. So these are all of her abilities. When activated, this ability increases range damage from Annie and any teammates who are near her. So that's gonna be her big buff that she gets out. She does that she's got a 45-second cooldown on it, lasts for 15 seconds. But then she's got Howitzer. You and all your teammates within this aura's effect radius deal more damage with ranged weapons, 25%. This is not on a cooldown. This is always when you're near her. So for your ranged, those that are specialized in it, they're gonna get such big benefit out of this. And then it's also gonna help you out too. Now Haymaker attacks you and your teammates within this aura's effect radius cause more damage to the balance bar of basic evil units. So it says attacks by you and your teammates. It doesn't say melee and it doesn't say range. So when it says attacks, it means any damage. So this is going to be a balance bar thing to where it's going to give you 25% just by being near her. Once you get this for level 10, yourself and people that are near you, you're going to automatically do 25% more balance bar damage. So Slugger, if you thought this was bad to the basics, look what this allows you to do to elite units and to boss units. So attacks once again causes elites to take 25% more balance bar damage, and for your bosses it causes them to take 100% more. So like literally with her, you can melt some enemies, especially if you have a good range team. Like she could go all the way. And we're not even talking about expanding that influence and hey, wait a minute, I can also strengthen the aura. So yeah, it gets ridiculous. So then we have our, as of right now, our last leader, and this is Arthur. So Arthur is actually going to be the one that you're going to take if you want to, if you've got a good melee team. He's got all the melee buffs. So his first one is, when activated, this ability, this is the Lord's Wrath. When activated, this ability increases the damage inflicted by your melee attacks and those of your nearby teammates, in addition to reducing their fear levels. If Lord Arthur has a sword, he inflicts extra damage. So that's personal for him, but everything else, this is what it's doing for your team. 45-second cooldown. For 15 seconds, you increase melee damage by 20% and fear reduction by 1. So what I'm assuming is that each melee hit you take is going to reduce your fear by 1. So not the greatest, but every little bit helps when it comes to that fear reduction. And remember, you got Master of Influence later on, so it's by 20%. Now, weapons, master heavy attacks. You and all your teammates within the aura's radius deal increased damage with heavy melee attacks. Start the match with a sword. So this is his ability that lets him start the match with the weapon. Now, if you notice, I don't think Annie had the ability to, I don't think she started with a weapon, which thank goodness, because if she did start with a weapon, she'd murder everything in sight. But this lets him start with a sword, and it also means that for his team, so the team doesn't start with a sword, just him. And what it does is it lets all your heavy melee attacks deal increased damage. So that's 30% damage. So those are for heavy attacks. Now, light attacks. You and all your teammates within the aura's radius deal increased damage with light melee attacks. So essentially, your heavy melee attacks are going to do 30% more damage, and your light melee attacks are going to be 30% more damage. So this is why I was saying he's the dude that you take when you have a melee team and you want to buff them up. And then fuel for the fire. If you perform a finisher while the Lord's Wrath is active, the ability lasts longer, so 5 seconds. Now, I'm not sure if you could just keep extending the ability and you could just keep doing it, or if it's a one-time only thing. Like it activates once and then after it's activated, it doesn't activate again until, until your Lord's Wrath has ended. And then you have to activate Lord's Wrath again to get another 5-second duration. So I'm not quite sure how that works, because as you can see, I don't have him. So yeah. So other than that, that's going to be what you do with him. And then these are your different outfits which you earn or you buy actually. And then this is his screamer. So what a screamer is this is the image that's going to appear when the character gets scared. And that's something that the demons can do. So those are going to be our leaders. And let's go ahead, and after that, let's go ahead and jump into our warrior, shall we? All right, so here we are with our warriors. And actually, you have an ash for each category. And each ash comes from a different movie. So the leader ash is from Ash vs. Evil Dead. Warrior ash is from Army of Darkness. Hunter ash is from Evil Dead 2. And support ash is from the original Evil Dead. So let's go ahead and let's jump into our warriors. So, like I said, when you want to do melee DPS, this is who you're going to turn to. And once again, all your specialty stuff is going to be to your left. All your stuff that you're going to share across all your warriors is going to be over here to your right. So pretty much everything that you're going to be getting with a warrior is going to be things that are going to increase their melee damage big time. So you also have abilities that we've seen before, Devastating Force, only it increases your melee weapon damage by a lot. Let's see, does it increase it a bit more? I believe it actually increases it a bit more, that you have the option to increase it a bit more than you could with a leader, because of course melee damage is what you do. So you also have access as a warrior to a status effect, or to, I wouldn't say a status effect, but to a type of damage that most others do not get a talent for. And this is called dismemberment damage. And what this does is this is also a balance bar, but this doesn't focus on a balance bar. Instead, what this is your sharp weapons have a chance to dismember. So this increases the damage of that dismemberment. So warriors are one of the few, I think they're the only ones that get something like that. I'm trying to remember if hunters do. We'll see once we get there, but you're definitely going to want to look at something like this. So they get dismemberment damage. Of course, we've seen Artful Dodger. They get the chance to dodge, but look at how much more opportunity they get to dodge. They've got Last Word as well, only look at that damage. They've got Amulets as well, where they can, incoming damage is reduced when you have a shield active by 3, 5, 10, or 12%. So you've gotten that, and then increases your link to the shield bars by 12%. And then what you're gonna get is, of course, your industrial strength is here too. Your balance bar damages for your melee attacks. And then you also get something known as blunt force trauma. And what this is that there are, as you know, different weapon types. You've got blunt weapons, which are things like bats and maces. Then you've got melee weapons, which are like axes. And then you've got sharp weapons, which are like daggers and swords and things of that nature. This is a benefit for a blunt weapon, which increases the balance bar damage that they deal. So pretty much what this is allowing you to do is be a master of all different weapon types. So each one is going to give you that ability. So this here is going to be your balance bar damage from melee attacks. This is going to be Razor's Edge, which is, these are your two dismemberment abilities. This one is going to be for sharp weapons. This one is going to be for any melee weapon. So that's any melee on top of if you decide to get Razor's Edge. So this really helps out a lot, and this is that specialized damage that you're doing as a warrior. Also, you get the ability to increase the damage of your light melee attacks, along with increasing the damage of your heavy melee attacks. But you don't get to stop there. You also get Weapon Master, which increases damage dealt by one-handed melee weapons, damage by two-handed melee weapons, Stunning Strikes, which increases the balance bar from your heavy melee attacks. So you've got one for just regular melee attacks, and then you got one for heavy melee attacks. So you're gonna be working balance bars like nobody's business. And then Fighting Shape. This is a neat ability that you will find on both warriors and hunters. Now for warriors, it works with their melee abilities, whereas of course for hunters, it's gonna work with their ranged abilities. But for warriors, what Fighting Shape does is increases the melee damage you deal when your health is above a certain threshold. So if your health is at 100, 100, all the way up to 95, so you can lose a little bit, you're gonna be able to deal 5, 10, or 15% more damage. Then you have Second Wind, which increases the melee damage you deal when your health drops below a certain threshold. So 30, 40, 50%. Now, you kind of want that because, in my opinion, because what this makes it is that it makes it dangerous for the demon player for you to be injured. Like when you get injured, it's gonna allow your damage to go up. But then when you're in good health, it's gonna allow your damage to go up. But it allows your damage to go up by a whole lot more, 5% more in fact, when your health drops below a certain threshold versus it staying at a certain threshold. But you do have that opportunity. And to continue with the specialized damage, every warrior gets Seasoned Survivor Basic, which, if you put points into it, reduces the damage you take from possessed basic units. And we'll talk about possession and everything else a little bit later, but this is a good talent to have in my opinion. Then Seasoned Survivor Boss reduces damage taken from possessed boss units. And then, which pretty much every boss unit is always possessed, so it kind of doesn't make sense. And then Seasoned Survivor Elite reduces damage taken from possessed elite units. So your damage reductions come in these different forms, where you're gonna reduce damage that gets taken from each specific unit. So from 13 from lights, by 13 for elites, and by 13 for bosses. So this is on top of any other buffs that you might be getting. So this is what all hunters get to bring to the table. And of course, they've got their fear protection. So that's what all warriors are gonna get to spend their points on. Meanwhile, what Warrior Ash gets is the Wise Man's Potion. Oh, and by the way, unless it says otherwise, warriors do not offer group buffs. So this is all going to be for the warrior themselves. This is not going to be for the whole group. This is just going to be for the individual character. So what we're going to be looking at is Wise Man's Potion. When activated, this ability will grant you health restoration, fear reduction, increased damage dealing, and reduction of damage received. And it's gonna do this, I believe it lasts for... So your damage is gonna be increased by 30%, damage reduction, so that means that you're gonna take 30% less damage, do 30% more damage, you're gonna get 250 of your health restored, and you're gonna get 30 of your fear removed. So this little potion is actually pretty cool to have. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to see how long this lasts, or how long the duration on this lasts, but pretty much you do have a cooldown on it, and I cannot remember how long that cooldown is right now. But you do, when you take your Wise Man's Potion, you will have a cooldown. But then once that cooldown is up, you're gonna be able to do it again. And I believe the cooldown is a minute. So that's your level 1 talent. This is also your level 1 talent, Shield Blast. Each time your shield loses a bar, it triggers an explosion, damaging any nearby enemy. So this is giving you AoE damage, because that's any nearby enemy. And it doesn't say the radius, so I'm not quite sure what that is, but you deal 125 explosion damage. So that's a nice little AoE, but it's dependent on you losing a shield. So nice to have, but then you've got your level 15 talent, or excuse me, your level 10 talent, which is Finish Strong. After Ash kills an enemy with a finisher, he recovers part of his shield bar. So shield bar restored, 40. So his attacks help him restore his shield bar, which of course means taking less damage. So that's a nice little ability. Then his crown ability is Weapon Mastery Chainsaw. The chainsaw has a faster attack speed and deals increased health, balance bar, and dismemberment damage. So that's on top of anything else that he may have in here that's doing stuff with balance bar and dismemberment. And it doesn't even tell you how much it's increasing that. And it's increasing his speed to attack. But it's only with the chainsaw. Anytime you see it say something in its Weapon Master and it says like the weapon, it's only going to be for that character. And I do believe that your warriors usually either, if they don't start with a weapon, then they have a weapon mastery that they all specialize in. Of course, he specializes in his chainsaw. So that's going to be what you will be dealing with our Warrior Ash. He's the best warrior. Oftentimes you'll have a lot of people going directly for him. And if they can't get him, they get mad because they don't have access to this dude right here. And this is Scotty. This is our second warrior. So as you know, we've already got all these abilities, but what makes Scotty awesome? Well, first and foremost, Scotty has Thunder Thrust. Go ahead and laugh, it was supposed to be funny. This explosive ability damages all enemies in the surrounding area. Cooldown is 30 seconds, damage is 150. You are actually, what he brings to the table that's different from Warrior Ash is gonna be the dude who's going to be better at single target attacks. Scotty, on the other hand, is going to give you the option of doing AoE damage on top of his regular damage. And that's with collateral damage. Your heavy melee attacks inflict additional damage to nearby enemies. It's a 3-meter impact radius, and the damage dealt to nearby enemies is 13% of what your regular attack was on the main target. So this gets overlooked. And a lot of people, I think, don't know this or forget this about Scotty. So it's always bad to have your units mob him, because while he's swinging on one, he's doing damage to everybody around him. So Next is exposure therapy. It partially reduces your fear levels with every enemy you kill. So with every enemy he kills personally, he gains 5. His fear goes down by 5. So nice little help. And then his weapon mastery is Lumberjack Axe. The Lumberjack Axe has a faster attack speed and deals increased health and balance bar and dismemberment damage when in his hands. So if you're playing with us, if you're playing alongside of Scotty and you see that he does not have an axe and you happen to find an axe, if it's better than the weapon that he's got, let him have it, because that's going to be his specialized weapon, just like how Ash is specialized with the chainsaw. So your talents to the right are, your talents to the right are the same, just like they should be. You have your different outfits, and that's what Scotty looks like when he gets scared. So that's Scotty. And then we've got our last warrior for now. This is Henry the Red. Now, what does Henry the Red bring to the party that the other two don't? Henry the Red is unique in that Henry the Red is all about damage resistance, as in just not taking it in general. His level 1 talent is Unstoppable. Activating this ability temporarily prevents damage to health or shield. 7-second duration on a 60-second cooldown. Now that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but a whole lot can go down in 7 seconds. And that means that he's taking no damage to his health or shield for 7 seconds. A lot can go down in 7 seconds. So this is really a good ability. But on top of that, he also gets shields up. Start the match with an additional shield bar. So this means that when you start your match, you usually have 1 shield bar. This allows him to start the match with 2 shield bars already. So you can tell he's all about shields. Then rebound. If you have any shield, reflects a percentage of the damage you receive back onto your attacker. So what happens is that if you have a shield up, 30% of the damage that the attacker is doing is going to get reflected back at them. So what this means is that this makes you not want to attack this punk when you're playing a demon, because if he has a shield up, it's damaging you just to hit him. So yeah. And then Battle Hardened is his end talent, which increases the maximum health and shield bar length. So this increases his maximum health and shield bars by 10%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually winds up making his health bars longer. And then it makes his shield bars even longer. So it's playing to this guy's talent, which is he's all about shields. If you want to run around with amulets, get your amulet talents going, and he's all about just simply not taking damage. As long as his shields are up, he's all about just not taking damage or taking as little damage as possible. So he's going to be about that. Whereas, like I said, Scotty is going to be about your AoE damage. And then Warrior Ash is going to be about your single target damage with some light AoE tossed in there to help out. So those are your warriors. Let's go ahead and let's get into our hunters next. So when we jump into our hunters, pretty much every equivalent that we have for the meleeers, we've got them for the hunters. So just like the hunters, just like the warriors though, hunters, with the exception of one, don't bring any group buffs. So pretty much what you're going to be looking at with your hunter is, here's what your DPS stuff is going to be looking like, or your damage stuff is going to be looking like long shot, increase the range of ranged weapons. So what this means is that you're actually going to be able to shoot from further away. So you'll be able to see the enemy long before they see you. So this is good for that. And of course, here's where you get your increases to weapon damage. Notice how it is actually a little bit higher than everybody else's, because of course you're ranged. Then Divide and Conquer, this is a unique ability, which this increases dismemberment damage of ranged weapons. So no, warriors aren't the only ones who get that. Like it is, like I said, each person is getting their own version of the same thing. So here's the ranged version of dismemberment. Here's the ranged version of balance bar. stopping power. Firm grip reduces recoil of ranged weapons. So for your weapons that have recoil on them, this is going to reduce that. Surgical strike reduces the spread of ranged weapons. So what that does is it allows you to actually do more damage with weapons that have a wide spread. So it allows you to do more of a focus damage. Then there's Wig Splitter, increases your headshot damage. You've got your stuff that protects you from fear. Everybody pretty much has fear no evil. But where hunters get a little bit different at is that hunters have trap abilities. Now they are the only ones in the game with trap abilities. And we'll talk about those when we play as demon, when we go through with demon. But this reduces the amount of fear from demon traps. So when demon traps are on the map and you come across one, you take 15 to 25% less fear from them. On top of that, you're ready for anything. So reduces the amount of damage received from demon traps. So now, because when the traps trigger, they do a little bit of damage, but this reduces that damage to almost nothing. So these are the two little hunter things that they get that makes them unique. And then of course industrial strength. Then of course tougher than hell, so you can reduce your damage. Then there's your amulet stuff, just like before. Then you've got staying power. Now this is what increases your maximum stamina, which if you notice, the warriors didn't have anything that increased their stamina. Now they had health and reduced damage reduction, but they didn't have anything that increased the stamina. They had things that lessened the stamina usage, but not anything that increased your stamina. Hunters have that. Also, quick picker upper reduces the amount of time that it's required to pick up items. So this is just utility, but they're the only ones with this ability. Deadly from a distance. Remember how I said that melee has its version, which is they do so much damage when they're at a certain health, and then they do so much damage when they're below a certain health? This works not with health, but with distance. So deadly from a distance says that increased range weapon damage when targets are further than a certain distance. So that distance threshold has to be 10 meters. So when they're further than 10, you could do from 5 to 10 to 15% more damage. Now, when you're up close, this means that as long as you're within 5 meters, you're doing 5 to 10 to 20% more damage if you take this one, because this is going to be your up close one. Then of course you get last chance, which is just like last word, which is going to be the last, but instead of it being your last melee hit, it's going to be the last bullet in your gun. And then here's Artful Dodger. So of course you still get your stuff that reduces the stamina cost of dodging. Like hunters are the best dodgers in the game. And then Light Therapy, here's their thing that increases their fear. That increases how fast the fear goes away in lit areas. Lone Wolf. Now this is a hunter only buff. Like you didn't get to see this for meleeers, but it increases the melee damage you deal when there are no teammates around you. So notice that that's melee damage, not ranged, but melee. So that's why I say like meleeers don't get a equivalent of this that increases their range damage if they're not with people. But it does for hunters, 15 to 30%. Then on top of that, you've got their increase to melee weapon damage. It's not as much as a warrior's, but still pretty good amount. And then of course they've got the ability to reduce the cooldowns of all their active skills. Active skills being this right here, it reduces the cooldown of these. So like that 90-second cooldown gets reduced by 10%. So that's how that works. So all of that is the same for all your hunters. And then for Hunter Ash, his ability is called Exorcist. Activating this ability exorcises the demon from any possessed survivor or basic unit. If used on a possessed elite or boss unit, The ability drains some infernal energy from the demon. So what this means is that it's gonna draw, like if you use it on a boss or elite, the demon runs off of infernal energy. That's what they're using to make all their moves. This will steal 20% of their infernal energy from them if used on a possessed or elite. 90-second cooldown. Other than that, if it's a basic unit or a survivor and you use it once, it'll automatically knock the demon out. So it's a good ability. It's very powerful. Moving on, we got Treasure Hunter. So that allows you to see supply crates through walls at close range. So this is like item detection, but it only works with supply crates. Then I'm the guy with the double barrel. So this is your start your match with your signature weapon, which is the double barrel. And then Weapon Master double barrel. The double barrel has a faster reload speed and deals increased health, balance bar, and dismemberment damage. So it never tells you how much that is, but apparently it's increased. So I don't know what that's all about. But yeah, so that's where you're gonna get your extra health, balance bar, and dismemberment damage from, that you did not get with that same versatility for the melee weapons where they had sharp and they had blunt and they had all of that stuff. So that's gonna be our Hunter Ash. Moving on, we have got Hunter Ed. And what makes Hunter Ed special is that, number one, he's got It's a Trap. When activated, this ability grants use of a unique flashlight that allows you to detect and temporarily disarm demon traps. This will piss a demon off like no other, because in the very beginning stages of the game, or even in general later on, that's one of the main ways a demon is going to be trying to attack you, is by hoping that you'll trigger traps. On a 90-second cooldown, and this is before you add that 10%, and the duration is 40 seconds, so this lasts for a long time. This is long enough for you to search an entire area and be done with it, and the demon can literally do nothing to you because you disable every last trap. So this is what makes him like invaluable. Then on top of that, Enduring Light increases the battery life of your flashlight, because your flashlight does have a battery life. So this just means that this dude could run around like all match with his flashlight on and not have to worry. Everybody else, they'll have to worry. His weapon mastery is with crossbows. So his crossbows have a faster reload speed and deal increased health, balance bar, and dismemberment damage. So that's where he's gonna get his dismemberment. This is where they're gonna get their dismemberment and health and balance bar stuff from. They're gonna get theirs from here. And then the Collector. This is another little ability that makes this dude invaluable. Just him, this is the group buff that he offers, because it's not just for him, it's for his entire team. The Collector increases the chance that defeated enemies will drop items. Also improves the chance of finding crates of higher rarity. So what this means is that for the demon, anytime their minions are on the map and anytime their minion is killed, their minion has a chance to drop loot for the survivors. And so they can either drop healing items or they can drop shield items. So he increases that chance for that to happen. Then he also improves the chance of finding crates of higher rarity. Higher rarity crates mean better items in them. It also means the amount of once we get into it, you'll get to see. It also allows you to get more pink Fs, which you use to level up while you're in match. So this talent alone, having him in the party is invaluable. Like, because this game has no restrictions on when you can get loot, like you can literally be in a building and you can have loot appear. You could have 2 loot chests. You can have one loot chest that is regular and is a normal loot chest. You can go right upstairs and find one of higher rarity. and that's normally. So him having this means that it will make it to where you could go upstairs and you might be able to find one of the rarest items in the game. So yeah, this dude isn't about bringing utility as a, ooh, look at me, I'm a hunter. He's more about, ooh, look at me, I'm a treasure hunter. And he brings buffs and benefits along with that, as well as disabling. So he's more of a disabler in a hunter skin. Disables the demon and also brings you the buffs of finding some real good stuff. So he's a good hunter to have around. Kelly is a very unique hunter. So this one right here has slip shot. When activated, you dodge without using stamina and your ranged attacks cause bleeding damage to your target for a short period. You already know that hunters have dodging ability. They're built to be able to dodge. This queen, when she activates this ability, is like Ball, Bull, and Punch Out, getting ready to do the Bull's charge. Like seriously. Look at this. Its duration is 10 seconds. So for 10 seconds, it's like this. Her dodge is free for 10 seconds. The range damage that comes across as bleed, which is a very unique type of damage. As a matter of fact, I think she's the only one who has the ability to call on to use this type of damage. That's 20% of your damage as bleed damage. So what that means is that 20% of the damage stacks as bleed, and what bleed is a damage over time. So, and that bleeding duration is 5 seconds. Cooldown is 60 seconds. Her duration is 10 seconds. So don't forget about this now. So with that 10% reduction, that means that she's gonna be, for the most part, dodging for free a whole lot. Oh, but it gets better because a lot of her stuff is based off of dodging. And she's also got a weapon master, but oddly enough, it's not a ranged weapon, it's a melee weapon. And it's a particular one, the meat hammer. Has a faster attack speed and deals increased health, balance bar, and dismemberment damage. So you get that as like your level 1 talent. So she's one of the few hunters that actually comes with a melee talent instead of having a ranged ability. But as you go up, you notice that she's got counter shot, in which your next ranged attack after a successful dodge inflicts bleeding damage on your target for a short time. So that's 5%. Now, successful dodge. You said that sounds like slip shot. Well, this is what slip shot gives you when it's active. This gives her that ability all the time. So every time she dodges, her next range attack is gonna inflict bleeding damage. So this is why I said this queen is gonna be dodging you like Ball Bull getting ready to set up for the Bull's charge, because she gets so much from doing it. She's not gonna pass this up. And then she's got Battle Frenzy. Your melee damage increases the longer you are in sustained combat. Extra damage per second, 2%. So what happened is that this talent actually used to be bugged. And what it was doing is, this is only supposed to work with your melee damage, and it was only supposed to go up to a certain amount. What was happening is that it was working on her range damage too. And it was allowing her to just be ridiculous when she got to a certain point. And I think the time was bugged on it too. So now it's actually back to doing what it's supposed to do. Your range melee increases the longer you are in sustained combat. So that's how she can be shooting the hell out of you, and then all of a sudden come at you when the time is finally right and she's built up enough melee power and beat you to death with that meat hammer. So she's a very interesting mix. She uses her hunter abilities to buff, to like compensate with her melee abilities. Like, she's one that if you want to go back and forth between the two styles, like, she allows you to do that with ease. She's not as restrictive. So that's Kelly. And then Amanda. Amanda is the one that you're gonna play if you just love your gun. Like, this one is all about her gun. She is all about range, but unfortunately it kind of limits her because she's so about ranged, she ain't about nothing else. So her first ability Ammo for days. When activated, this ability allows you to temporarily fire your ranged weapon without expending any ammunition. That's for 7 seconds. Now, she doesn't get to use this to death like our girl Kelly does get to use hers. And she doesn't get to abuse this. But for 7 seconds, she is literally, and a lot can go down in 7 seconds. She just gets to fire her weapon without expending any ammunition. So she's got that as her level 1 talent. Also, she starts the match with a pistol. So she gets her starting weapon. Then she's a weapon master pistol. The pistol has a faster reload speed and deals increased health, balance bar, and dismemberment damage. So there's your buff for that. And then accuracy counts. Damage dealt by your ranged weapons increases with each consecutive hit. So 2% increase for each consecutive hit. Now, I don't know how high this stacks up to, but she's really good at getting consecutive hits. And it says consecutive hits. It doesn't mean headshots. As long as you're hitting the target, that's a consecutive hit. So she's all about guns. Like, if you want your guns, you take her, especially when you back it up with this talent. And with this talent, Lord, look, she will be stinging your kneecaps like nobody's business. Like, so she's, if you love your gun, this is who you want. Now on to our supports. So for our supports, we're actually gonna have something a little bit different. For supports, they're actually going to be bringing back having group buffs. So all your supports, with the exception of one, are going to be offering group buffs, and they follow the same pattern. All their personal stuff is going to be to the left, and then all their universal is going to be to the right. And as you can see, we've got the usual talents here. We got R for Dodger, we got Seeing Stars. So here's your balance bar stuff. Here's your last attack, does more damage. Here's your melee DPS, and here's your range DPS. As you can tell, with these being so far out here, you can definitely tell like them doing damage is not what they're supposed to be doing. Like, that's kind of like just an accent to what they're supposed to be doing. Your supports are supposed to be healers, and they're supposed to be using their talents like Shemps Plus, which is your Shemps Colas. Now this is just you personally, restores more health. Actually, I take that back. For Ash and for our next healer that we're going to be talking about, when they drink, and I think it works for Pablo too. I think it works for all three finally now. As a support, when you drink a Shemps Cola near everybody else, it causes the effect to affect them too. So if you've got this, when you restore more health to yourself, the health that gets restored to them is also more. So you've got that. Then you've also got long life batteries. So this increases that battery life. So once again, this is going to give them the ability, almost like Ed, where he can run around with his flashlight on almost all match. So yeah, this is their fear resistance. And then what they're going to get is just like the leaders. They're going to get detection radius, so they can detect objective items from further away. And they're also going to get fast forward, which reduces the duration timer for objective events. So to have a support and a leader in a group with both of these talents is going to increase their ability to find things, but then also it's going to decrease how long it takes everybody to be in the to have to do an encounter. Now you got this for your survivors. Survivors have Deep Pockets Amulets. It increases the amount of amulets they can carry, just by a small amount though. They can carry an extra 2 amulets, 1 to 2 amulets. Then they get Reinforced Amulet. Incoming damage is reduced when you have a shield active, so we know about that. Improved Amulet increases the shield bars length, got that. Now, we're gonna talk about these here in a moment, but to keep on with the Shemps, they even get Deep Pockets Shemps Cola. Increases the amount of Shemps Cola you can carry. So 1 to 2 Shemps, it allows them to carry up to 6 Shemps. One character can actually carry up to 8 Shemps. So, and then this is pack and pop. You start the match with an extra Shemps Cola. So normally you have 1. So this allows you to start with 2, 3 extra colas. Then of course you've got your industrial strength, and then you've got your deep pockets matchsticks. So you're going to be doing matchsticks and amulets as your deep pockets. Now, what you also have are what you call, because you're a support, you have what are called stopping the bleed out effects. I'll call them bleed out effects. If a teammate of yours is bleeding out and you revive them, you can do one of two things. First aid. When you revive a teammate from bleeding out, they recover a percentage of health. Now later on, you'll come against good karma, which is when you revive a teammate from bleeding out, you recover a percentage of health. So one is for your teammate, the other one is for you. Your second one that you can get is courage in numbers. When you revive a teammate from bleeding out, your fear is partially reduced. So this one starts with the one for you. So when you revive a teammate from bleeding out, your fear is partially reduced. And these can work in conjunction. So once you get them, you've always got them, and they'll work together. It's not like this one's gonna work and this one won't work. Then you get Brave Survivor. When you revive a teammate from bleeding out, their fear level will not increase for a limited time. So this is the one that you get for your teammate. So that's what you're going to be working with when you're dealing with supports. And anytime you drink a Shemps when you're near the rest of your team, or you use an amulet when you're near the rest of your team, it will restore their shield bars as well. So that's what you do as a support. The way Ash heals is that he's got Reassuring Presence. When activated, this ability reduces fear levels for you and nearby teammates. So every 60 seconds, he can activate this ability and it'll shoot out and reduce everybody's fear by 50. So, on top of that, his way of healing is that he heals through damage. So pretty much when he does heavy attacks, once he gets this level 1 talent, which he should have from the very beginning, his heavy melee attacks allow him to restore health for himself and his nearby teammates. So 20% of the damage that you do gets generated back as health. So yeah, he's a battle healer. On top of that, he can use some ranged powers, which marked for target damage is marked for target. Headshots mark the target for a limited time. During this period, and you will be able to see it, like it will be an icon that appears over the minion. During this time, any follow-up shots from you or your teammates deal additional damage. 20% damage, the duration is for 5 seconds. So once you mark it, if you or anyone else fires back on that person, you do 20% increased damage. So this is kind of how you can kind of shimmy out being ranged with him. But the damage that you're gonna get isn't gonna be enough to make you a good ranged, but it'll give you advantage, because then you follow up with this mark target healing, and this headshots mark a target for a limited time. During this period, follow-up shots from you or your teammates restore a percentage of damage back to you as health. So now this is the one that's for you. So this is the one that gives damage to anybody, and it has to be a shot. This one is the one that gives you the health back to you if once you mark that target, anybody takes a shot, and it gives you the healing back. So the more healing you have, the more opportunities you're going to have to keep your team alive, and that's what you're wanting to do with support, is you want to keep your team alive. So pretty much what this does is this gives him it gives him a little bit of utility from range, but he's most dangerous when he's beating the hell out of stuff. So that's going to be your support, Ash. Next in line is Cheryl. Now, people have argued that she is the best healer in the game. I think it's a tie between her and Ash. But her ability is that Healing Touch. Activate this ability to create a healing zone for you and your teammates. Healing per second, 60. Now that's 60 heals. That's it's healing that is being done to you to where you're getting 60 back per second. You're getting 60 health back per second. The duration is 6 seconds. The cooldown is 120 seconds, which, unfortunately, is something that you don't have a talent for as a support. You can't reduce this cooldown, so it's always going to be 120 seconds. But look at how much health that gives back. So yeah, that alone is what makes her good. But then this is what makes her even better. Cola Coaster can carry more Shemps Cola and start the match with an extra one in your inventory. So she's the one. Remember when I said before that there's one who can carry 8? She's the one. And this is how she does it. Contact Courage. Drinking a Shemps Cola partially reduces your fear and the fear of nearby teammates. This is not an effect that normally happens with Shemps. Normally it just restores health, but with this, when she drinks one near her teammates, it takes their fear down by 25. So this is invaluable, especially when you pair this up with like a Leader Ash. And then Contact Healing. When you drink a Shemps Cola, nearby teammates gain an increased amount of health. So teammates' health recovered by 100. So pretty much when she drinks a Shemps, instead of it just restoring like a set amount, hers will always restore 100. So this is what makes her like the best healer, is that everything that she does is all about healing. So if you want to be like Healer Supreme, she's the one. Ash is for if you still got that melee in you, or you still got a little bit of ranged in you, and you don't just want to dedicate yourself to just being healing. Because as you can see, she's getting nothing that's helping her damage out. So yeah, she's going to be sitting in the back being at ranged, you know, trying to make sure she doesn't get hit. Like if you see her trying to run up and trying to fight, it's probably because she's got a blunt weapon that's going to be doing a whole lot of balance bar damage. That's the only time you're going to see her doing that. And then last but not least, we have Pablo. Now, what makes Pablo different is that it's what he offers on this left side. Everything else is the same here. But Pablo is not your typical healer. Pablo actually is the only one who can generate amulets. However, it's on 120 second cooldown. And so that means that that's 2 minutes. It takes him 2 minutes to make one of these things. You could have just found a truckload of those in that 120 seconds. So it's kind of useless, but pretty much it gives him the ability to always be able to have amulets. So you'll never run out of amulets when you got this guy around. But what makes him unique and not so much a healer is the fact that he can drink Shemps and anybody around him is gonna get the heal. He can use an amulet, so that's why even, you know, once every 2 minutes, whatever you guys find more, he's always going to be able to buff everybody's shields up. Like that's never going to be a problem with him around. What makes him also play different is that he has what's called Infernal camouflage. So this means that the demon cannot see him. What this means is that all players to the demon have an aura around them, and that aura changes color. That aura is usually yellow, but then when that person is scared, the aura turns red. Pablo has no aura because he walks on, essentially he walks on both sides. Like he's in Ash vs. Evil Dead. He's one of the characters that they introduced in that, and he actually winds up being a real big pivotal character. And part of his character arc is that he walks on both sides, so the demon can't see him. He's invisible to the demon. So yeah. So you can use this to go all around the map and the demon won't be able to see you. However, they can see you out there just running around if they happen to cross you. You just have no aura. Legacy of El Brujo. Begin the match with an additional amulet. So he gets to start the match with, I believe it's 2 or 3 amulets. instead of just the traditional 1. I think you start with 1 amulet. He starts with 2. Then he's got shamanistic protection. Your shield bar will gradually recover over time until you have at least 1 full bar. So he always will have 1 full shield bar once you get this talent. So the question becomes, what the heck do you use Pablo for if all his stuff is all about these shields and about invisibility? Well, Pablo requires a little bit of, because his main thing is not about healing, it's more about protecting. You kind of have to set up with Pablo, and then you definitely want to use his ability to be stealth to help you with the map pieces, but that's about the point where he kind of becomes useless unless you're going to use him to go and loot and run loot while everybody is running the objectives, so that he's bringing back loot to you guys and you know, for everybody to be able to use and such, you know. But other than that, like, he's not a traditional healer. As a matter of fact, he's the worst out of the 3. So he's if you want to do something completely different, but you want to fill a support role. So it leaves this one open. So yeah, that's gonna be our supports, and that rounds out all of our survivors. But what we want to go ahead and do real fast is discuss the pink F system. So we're gonna jump back into our tutorial, because the pink F system is how you're going to be leveling up the characters, your survivors, as you play throughout the match. So let's go ahead and let's jump back in.
When evil shows up, it blows up. Yeah, still working on that.
I don't have much time, so listen closely. This is Professor Raymond Noby. The following are steps to be taken in order to dispel the Kandarian demon. Deviate from them at your own hazard. Search nearby for pieces of my map. It contains the location of the items required to banish the demon.
All right, so now that he's done, so pretty much our pink F system is gonna be this right here. Now everybody's is different. For your leaders, you're going to have pretty well balanced in your melee, pretty well balanced in your health. You're gonna have the highest in your fear, and then you're gonna be pretty well balanced in your stamina and your shield. Now, this is universal across, just like how the trees on your right side are. This is universal across the classes. So this is what it's going to be like for all leaders. So if you were playing melee, you would have more in your melee, less in range, like you'd have 2 in ranged, and then you might have a little bit more in health and stamina and shields, you know, for instance. But your pink F system is how you're actually going to be upgrading as you go throughout. Now, where do you find pink Fs? Well, you find them in chests, but normally when you come into the game and you're playing, this is what you would do. You're going to have different quality of weapons. You've got your basic weapons, which are going to be common. This is your hand axe. But then you've also got, this blue one, and that's rare quality. You notice the damage went up on it. Then you got this purple one, and you notice damage went up on it, speed went up on it, and it's looking pretty good, and that's epic. But then you go to, this is legendary, so this is top of the line. So if you'll notice that at the bottom it says dismemberment and balance bar, those are what those percentages in your talents are going to go towards. It's going to go towards those numbers. So it's going to be like your 40 balance bar plus 20% of 40. You know, your dismemberment plus 55%, you know, 55 plus 20% to 55. So that's what you're going to get with that. So we're going to pick this up,
right tool for the job,
because that's better than our common chainsaw. Even though that's the signature weapon, you can get a legendary version of this. All weapons come in different quality. So this just happens to be an axe. You're also, how you find Shemps and amulets, you're gonna just find them lying around. So you would pick them up. And then when you can't pick up anymore, it's gonna tell you you can't pick up anymore. In order to use your items, if you notice down at the bottom right is a bunch of different icons. The one that has you pointing left is your flashlight. You want to watch that 100% is going to show you how much life you have in your flashlight. Once it reaches 0, you're done. Your flashlight does not work anymore. 3 is your health. Those are your Shemps.
Makes me feel like a young buck again.
Let's drink that because we need it. Then we just pick up another Shemps. Next to that is our shield, which has us pointing over to the right. We don't have any shields right now. And then the one that has us pointing down is pink Fs. We don't have any pink Fs right now, so we will pick some up along the way. So we have our axe and then our amulets. As you can see, you're just gonna find them just like this. And then when you hit your button, it's gonna give you a shield. Now, you see it's only got 1 bar. If you use another shield now, it's not gonna let you because you don't have any extra bars. So it needs you to have an extra bar in order for you to activate the shield. Other than that, you're only gonna be able to activate however many bars of shield you have access to. And you can change that with pink Fs. See? You can take it so that you have 2 shield bars, 3 shield bars, up to 4 shield bars. So, something that you'll want to do when you're running around is, number 1, this is what your flashlight is good for. Seems like an empty room, doesn't it? Turn your flashlight on.
There. Now you can see how good I look.
And all of a sudden, items. So yeah, you're in the dark. If you're like in a dark room and it seems like it's nothing there, click your flashlight on and it's going to reveal all the items. And once they're revealed, you don't have to do it again. So that's what you're going to be using your flashlight for. Here's that great meat hammer that we talked about for Kelly. So if I was playing as her, we would pick this up and we would go to work. But now is where we fight at.
It's gonna hurt you way more than it's gonna hurt me.
Now, that's how you do that. And you actually do fight with combos. This is a light attack. And then your heavy attack is gonna take you longer. So you would time it. So that's what your heavy attacks are gonna look like. And each weapon is gonna have a different attack animation. So axes are pretty fast, but if this were a mace, then oh my goodness, it might take me 20 years to do a heavy swing. So be aware of that and just and fight accordingly. So you can do combos like light, 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 or you could do heavy. Can you do heavy, heavy? But as you can see, it takes a lot for a heavies to come out. And if you notice underneath my picture on the bottom left, oh, okay, so it's not that's normally where your stamina is at. So the stamina is not going down, I guess, because we're in the tutorial. Normally your stamina will be going down. So that's gonna limit how many attacks you're gonna be doing, and it's gonna limit your ability to run. Okay, there we go. So attacks don't matter. You can attack all you want to. But as far as dodging, it's gonna take your stamina. So see? And then running is gonna do that. When that skull appears, that allows you to go into a finisher. While you're going through a finisher, you have invincible frames. So nothing can hit you. So it's actually really good to use that against the demon. Like if you're surrounded, like try to go for finishers, even if it doesn't have the red skull. If it just allows you to go for a finisher, go for it, because those invincibility frames are too good to pass up when you're surrounded like that. There we are. See, even though you saw that, as you can see, there was still something to find. So pretty much this is what you're going to be doing. Like, you will be going into houses and things like this, and you'd be looking for that icon that would be like, hey, the map is here. So this is what it would look like. And you can vault into windows. Now, when you enter a place, there's going to be a chance that there are traps. You can't see these traps unless you're Hunter Ed and you've got your flashlight on. But they can be anywhere. They usually hover in the air. When we do demon, we'll talk about that and you'll get to see it. But you can't see them until you trigger them. So, and they can be anywhere. So just know that walking into a house, you may not be safe. So these are your different firearms. This is your long gun, which is your rifle type weapons. And then of course, here's your revolver, which is going to be like your more short firearm. So, and as you can see, each one has its different stats.
Long range, close up, I don't care. They're all
this one's less
down.
with the dismemberment, less with the balance bar, less with the reload time, but that range. So this one is more with the dismemberment, more with the balance bar, more with that reload time, or less with that reload time. So we're gonna take our small gun over our big one.
See that, Deadites? I created light.
And then you just go ahead and take aim. And that would be a headshot. Like if we were playing Ash, then you would have seen the little icon appear. Who spoke? And that's puke. These are what those particular Deadites do. I don't even know where he came from. But I know where he's going. And special ammo is what your special weapons are going to use. So I always pick that up just in case I happen to run across a special weapon. So we're just picking up our ammo here. And then we want to get into this. So like I said, while we were in that building and everything else, your demon is going to be, of course, trying to attack you, trying to use their minions to get at you and everything else. Cars, you can find these all over the map.
Believe it or not, I'm out of matches. Anybody
Oh,
got
can
some?
you get in? And you can drive most of them. Unfortunately, demons don't stand up too well versus a vehicle. Now, what's funny is that you can put the minions down with one hit from a vehicle. However, as a survivor, if your demon possesses a vehicle, which yes they can, and if they possess it and you're in it, it'll kick you out. If they hit you, it doesn't hurt that much, but you can run over one of their minions with your vehicle and it just melts them down. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with vehicles. However, you don't want to be in vehicles because, well, you do, but you have to watch out. The demon can't see you and doesn't start with you at the beginning of the match. So what happens is that you have opportunities to where you can do things that make you make noise. Driving a vehicle makes a whole lot of noise, and the demon will be able to see you on their map. Firing your gun makes noise. So don't go running around firing your gun all over the place unless you're in battle with the demon or the demon has already found you. Like, unless the demon hasn't found you, if they haven't found you, they're not bothering you, don't run around firing your gun because they'll be able to hear it and they'll zero in on you pretty darn fast. So with that having been said, that's what the demon will be doing. They'll be sending their minions after you, which are AI controlled, by the way. So these guys are AI controlled. but the demon player can possess them. And when the demon player possesses them, that gives the demon player full control over that demon. So they usually get stronger and they usually get a little bit faster. But that's what the demon is going to be doing, is they're going to be trying to stop you by possessing and using their minions against you. Now, the good thing is that only 2 of the AI controlled minions can attack at a time. So you will only ever have 3 active fights going on at a time. So that's something that's good to know. I kind of wish they would change that. I think they should make the AI aggressive. It's a lot more aggressive in story mode than it is in online mode. So we already did this where we collected our match pieces. But what we didn't do is we didn't go over here to these chests. And over here at these chests is where our pink Fs are going to be at. So let's go ahead and let's dispatch our guest here. And now, these are how you're... Somebody's here. There she is. And yeah, you actually can dismember them and start taking off like arms and legs and things of that nature. So that's what the dismemberment allows you to do. And if you stack your character up with those kinds of abilities, like, you'll literally be able to just tear through some people. But here is what your supply crates are going to look like. This is a regular supply crate. You open that up, you're only going to get an item. So then you have a rare supply crate. This one's going to be blue. You open that up, you're going to get a rare item.
Stronger.
And you're also going to get pink Fs. So now if you notice, I've got a 1 down there to hit my down button. Thought I heard somebody speak. All right, so that's what you're going to get from your quality on this. But now, pink Fs. So now I've got 1 point. So that means that I could take 1 point and put it into any one of these abilities. So you get 1 pink F from a rare chest. This is an epic crate, which is going to be purple.
Till the wheels fall off. What? You never saw a guy with a chainsaw hand before?
And Mr. Man, you get 2 out of an epic box. Now, this is a legendary crate. It's going to be orange.
Medication time.
Now you get quite a few out of that. So you get about 3 or 4 out of that one. And as you can see, we got a better weapon. Now, the ammo capacity and the rate of fire is the only thing that's better about it. Less on that dismemberment. So I'm better with the weapon that I have, even though that quality is higher.
That one's for you, Chet.
And then there's pink Fs all over the place. So what you do is decide what you want. You can increase your health. Let's do shields. So this way, see how that shield bar appeared? Fear, you can reduce how much fear, how much your fear is reduced by. So like you take less fear, 0 to 10, 20% less fear, 30% less fear, 40% less fear, 50% less fear, and then -2 fear per second in well-lit areas. So this is what you're going to do for your fear protection. We don't have to worry about that in here, but this is what you would be doing in the match if you wanted to make sure that your fear was in a good place. Because if your fear gets too high, which is the meter on the left side down there where my portrait is at, it's the one that's underneath the white bar, the one that looks like it's gray and it's got the little pointer thing next to it. If I go into fear, you'll notice that that pointer moves. So what that pointer does is that pointer lets us know, how much fear it's going to actually take before I cross threshold. So because it's way out there like that, that means it's got to take a lot of fear before I cross my threshold and I become afraid. Becoming afraid exposes you to the demon. They can see you on the map. Also, it allows the demon to possess your character and take control of it and fight with your character against your teammates. So you don't want that. But let's increase our shields. Let's increase our health. See, now you won't see that go up, but it did go up. And then this increases how much damage we do. Since I seem to be doing pretty good with my melee already, let's take our range damage up. And as you can see, each thing is going to do something a little bit different. Like first it's damage, then it's damage. Like as you can see, it's damage, damage, and then attack speed. Then it's damage, damage, then reload speed, reload reduction. Health is just health. Fear is what we talked about already. And then stamina is just your stamina cost reductions for things. And then shields just gives us more shield bars. So that means we can do this now. And now they have to go through 3 shields to take me out. So we've already seen the rest of this with the collecting of our map pieces. But I want to show you one more thing.
Your group now holds the final piece of the map. The lost pages of the Necronomicon and Kandarian Dagger are within reach. My plan will only succeed with these items.
Mooches, dear. I hear you breathing. Ah.
When you get back to hell, practice your aim.
I'm dangerous. My whole entire crew is dangerous. Put our gun back up. Now watch this. Now that's my special ability. See how I just destroyed her balance bar?
Let's boogie.
And when we bring this next demon up, look at the bar beneath their health bar. That's the balance bar, that white one. So that's how you can tell how much of their balance bar you're taking down. And see, you got to see what makes the difference between an elite unit and a basic unit. Elites normally cannot be stopped unless you take their balance bar down.
You took your vitamins, because it's time to dance.
Whereas the basic units, you can stop them, or you can at least stun them and help drop their balance bar. But yeah, your elite units, which are always bigger, they're not going to have that. So that's what that's gonna look like. So that's an elite unit. So as you can see, they're stronger, better, and faster.
Hey, Evil, why don't you eat my butt?
Now for this guy. See, that's what we want to do with him. So see, that's how you would do this with a hunter. And since you got all that balance bar stuff and everything else, you're gonna just be like, that's what you're gonna do. And because you can dodge, see, and that's how you would do that with a hunter. You would just dodge. All right, so those are tips, but now we're gonna talk about fear.
Why me? You know what?
Now this is what happens. See how my fear is just shooting up? That's what fear is going to look like. Now it's not going to happen like that, but that's how your fear peaks. So now the demon, if there was one, could see me. You want to grab these matchsticks You can't carry any more. Normally you can carry up to 3, and then you want to hit this bonfire. Hold down your Y button, and then that's gonna light up. You want to stay in range and see how the fear is dropping. That's that talent that increases how fast the fear drops. So when you get that talent, that's what it affects. But yeah, you stand here and you just let your fear drop and everything is good. So I do believe that is going to be it when it comes to this. Just always remember to keep your fear in check as a survivor. You're gonna find bonfires in all kinds of just odd places, and you'll always see the icon for it wherever one is going to be at. So you'll always be able to light them as long as you have matches. If you don't have matches, you need to go find some matches. The only other thing that we didn't get to see is that when we were looking at the traps, when we were looking at the treasure boxes can be trapped. The demon can trap treasure boxes. So what happens is that when you have a trapped treasure box, you won't know that it's trapped until you open it. If you open it and a hand jumps out, that's Ash's hand. Ash's hand will do damage to you and raise your fear a little bit, but otherwise that's it. If all of a sudden you see a bunch of little mini Ashes jump out, those punks will actually steal things out of your inventory. So they'll steal things from here. And it's always random what they'll steal. You never know what it's gonna be. I don't believe they steal weapons, but they will steal items. So be aware of that. And then as you can see, bonfire, your symbol is always gonna look like this. They'll be all over the place. Look on your map.
Now you can see how good I look.
And as you can see that symbol. Anywhere where you see this symbol on your map automatically means there's a bonfire there. So just things to note. Let me see. Is there anything else that we might need to cover? Nope, I think we've covered everything. So we've covered that. When it comes to the chest, do be aware that it's random. It's total RNG. Like I said earlier, it doesn't matter. Like chests just there's no rhyme or reason to how they appear.
What? You never saw a guy with a chainsaw hand before?
You can see one that's one quality in one building, walk to the very next building and find the best weapon in the game. So just be aware of that. And other than that, I do believe that that's going to be it with the survivor. So let's go ahead and let's jump on over to the other side of the game, the demons. All right, but real fast before we jump into the demons, just one thing of note. There's a reason why you have leaders, warriors, hunters, and supports here. And that's because you always want to look into what your team composition is. Like the best teams are going to be the ones that are composed the best. So if you know that you have hunters then you're going to want to go ahead and you're going to want to go with her, because you know that she's going to be providing the best buffs for your hunters. If you've got a party and it's full of warriors, well then you know Arthur is going to be the best one because he's got the best buff for that. If you've got a mixed party, then you can do one of two things. You can go with the leader Ash, who gives you a flat damage buff. Now he doesn't give you all the little dismemberments and stuff like that, but he's going to give you a flat damage buff across everything. So you want to think about that. Also, don't be opposed to double stacking. You can have warriors and hunters in the party. Who says you can't have two leaders to back that up? So it's not like you can't have one who deals with melee, one who deals with range, and then that leaves you two more slots open. You could go with a hunter and a warrior. So pretty much you got two melee, you got two ranged, and you got two that are buffing the other two. So keep those kinds of things in mind when you're going forward and you're selecting your teams. And then of course, you got your supports, which are going to be bringing you heals, which ones are going to be bringing you the most heals, or which one is going to be bringing you utility. It's all about whatever it is that you want to do. Right now, there are some team compositions that are extremely overpowered. I'm not going to say what they are. I pretty much just turned you on to the path. It'll be up to you to go through, check percentages and everything. but there are some compositions that are overpowered, plain and simple, and they will allow you to just destroy a demon, because unfortunately the demon can never spec themselves up enough to be able to resist what's being done to their minions. So that means that they can never spec, because demons, as you'll get to see, there's certain things demons can't spec for, or demons don't have enough in the way of levels to be able to, what their talents offer them don't allow them to spec up high enough to be resistant to, like, the balance bar damage, the regular damage, the dismemberment damage. Like, all of that will overwhelm the minions and allow these teams to just like totally dominate. So keep all of that in mind. Your best teams are the ones that are composed with every member in mind, their strengths and their weaknesses. So always remember that. All right, now, so onward to the demons. So we've got our Warlord, which is our first demon. Take a look at her. And so the Warlord is Miss Nobi. For those who don't know, the guy who was at the very beginning, who was giving us all the information and stuff for our survivor when we went onto the map, that is her husband. He's the one who opened the Necronomicon, recited some of the stuff, and brought the demon into our world. It killed his wife and daughter. So even though she's one of the leaders, his daughter, she's supposed to be dead, but shh. This is his wife. This is the one who he put in the fruit cellar, and the Deadites took her over and made her a boss. So when you're dealing with her, she is unique, and demons are unique in that, if you notice, there's a whole lot more stuff here for a demon. And if you notice, the level jumped from 25 to 45. So yeah, there's a whole lot that demons have to have in order to be able to go face to face with their survivor counterparts. So it does take longer to level up your demon. So when you are dealing with Miss Nobi, what you want to notice is that you do have an army. So for your basic unit, you've got your Deadite, and every unit is actually, or every one of the demon types is gonna have their strengths and weaknesses. Like for the Deadites, pretty much for this character, her whole thing is that she does debuffs. So her basic unit is gonna reflect that. And how they reflect that is that they're the ones that puked when we were playing earlier. That's what they actually were doing. And when they do that, it actually prevents the survivor from being able to run or dodge. So you could put points into that so that it causes that effect. You can also rip off one of your body parts or one of your arms and use it as a melee weapon. They also have the ability to dodge. So usually your low level units usually have that. Now here's your elite units. These are the big dudes that you saw coming at me. If you notice, what they give, or what these particular ones give, is that if you have the talent for it, when Deadite elites are hit, their blood splatter obscures the vision of all nearby survivors. So what this means is that the survivors, as a survivor, while you're swinging, if you notice that there were blood splatters happening on the screen, that's the effect. But that was the effect not specced out. But yeah, that blood will appear on the screen, and it'll be more of it, and it'll obscure your vision. So Deadite elites, remember when I said that they don't knock back unless their balance bar is fully gone? That's why he just kept charging at me and he didn't stop. So that's one good thing about your elites. Deadite elites also have a greater chance of spawning with an axe. So one thing about her units, Henrietta or the Warlord, Miss Nobi, whatever you want to call her if you're nasty, one thing of note is that her Deadites show up with weapons. So her basic Deadite has a chance to show up with a weapon. So, and as you can see, that's his little buff. They have a chance of showing up with a weapon. She does not have a chance of showing up with a weapon. But as you can see, these guys do not have the ability to dodge, so you don't dodge with them. But pretty much what you're doing is they have an AoE attack where this is the charge that you saw him do. The Deadite Smash is a charge, and then they jump up and do damage. Then you've got Big Swing, which is this huge 180-degree swing. They warm up for it for like 20 years, but when they swing, it's got good AoE damage. So these guys are going to be your AoEers, and they're going to be your the things you send in after groups. But be warned that once they destroy your balance bar, you can be chain stunned. And what that means is that you've come across a weapon that is doing very strong balance bar damage to you. And so if a demon is dealing with that, there's no way that you could spec yourself to be able to be strong enough to resist it. So you're just gonna have to take it. So pretty much all of your talents are gonna be in here based off of her debuffs. And now all these over here can be similar, but they're going to be different between the 3 different demons. Like, you're gonna get the same basic things for health raisers. For your elites, you're also gonna for your elites, your basic units, and your boss. You're also gonna get what they call rock steady, which is this is how you're gonna protect yourself, your balance bar. And even though you can see that 60% in balance bar protection, even that's not enough. You've already seen some of what the others bring to what survivors bring to the table. 60% is not enough. And that only increases the length, not the resistance. But these basic talents are gonna be universal to where you're gonna have your Rocksteady Elite, Boss, and Basic units. You're gonna have your health raisers for your Boss, Basic, and Elite units. You're even gonna have that for your, like I said, for your bosses. Then for Miss Nobi, she has a fart ability. So she can extend the duration of that. She can also extend the damage of it. So these are her special abilities. This is her quick comeback. This is cool because if the survivors try and run in and beat the hell out of your character, then this is going to, when she gets dazed because her balance bar got destroyed, this is going to allow her to come back 40% faster from that stun. So she's the one that they can't just chain stun and just make useless. So she's cool with that. This is how you're gonna increase damage. This is gonna be a basic thing. You're gonna find this in every tree. Heavy damage for your basics, your elites, and your boss. So that's gonna be their damage increasers. Then for 2, you're actually gonna find that this is gonna reduce the amount of infernal energy to take possession of something. And then this is gonna reduce the infernal energy required to stay in possession of something. So it costs you for both, like to jump into a unit, it costs you. To stay in that unit, it costs you. So these are your reducers for that. Then this is all of our rock steady. This is our damage over time, or our debuffs, so to speak. This is the puke. This is too grossed out to run. This is what makes it so that they can't, after they get puked on, they can't dodge or run for 5 seconds. This here is your projectile vomit. So this increases the range. So that means that your Deadite can, have some range to their projectile vomit. So they could be far away and still get them. This is going to increase your damage. So you're always going to have, for this, since she's got debuffs and stuff like that, she's got stuff that accentuate that. She's also got stuff that accentuates the blood splatters, which the elites bring. This helps your elites speeding train his charge and then jump up in AoE attack. Not the swing, but the charge and the jump up in the landing. This increases the impact radius of that. So if you have survivors that try and dodge out of the way, they're gonna have to do like a double dodge, because other than that, they're still gonna get hit. Your other debuff is hemophobia, which this causes the blood splatters when they attack your elites. The blood splatters are gonna increase fear. So this is actually kind of good to have. This is gonna increase the range of your blood splatters. So pretty much anybody who's in the area fighting is gonna catch this. And then coagulation is gonna increase the duration of the obscured vision of blood splatters. So this is gonna piss survivors off because it's gonna make it harder for them to be able to see. So we covered all these already and what they do. Help increase our unit's health. This is the Rocksteady Boss. This is the balance bar increaser for that. And then for her end talents, well, pretty much her special thing is that she can also revive her units. So after a period of receiving no damage, evil units will begin to regenerate health. 2% health every second, 5% health every second. This is a good talent to have if you can be left alone long enough. And then of course this is Health Razor Boss. And then Pain Parasite. Evil units gain health from damage they deal by melee attack. Essentially, this turns your units into support Ash. So your basic units get the most benefit out of this though, whereas your elite units don't get a benefit out of it until you put in the 2 points. So that's something to look forward to. Relentless Evil reduces the cooldown of your active skill. Pretty much just like how survivors had their left and right sides, your left side is going to be where all your special talents are for your demon. Everything else is just going to be about buffing your units or buffing their abilities or buffing your bosses and buffing your own like basic abilities. Like this is about buffing all of that up, just like how it was on the survivors. And then this is all about what you do, what you bring to the table that's special for your demons. So then of course you've got Infernal Energy, which is Head Start. Start the match with a portion of your maximum Infernal Energy. This is good for when you're first getting started, but then later on when you like, it only helps you at the beginning because you start the match with your Infernal Energy. Doesn't help you for the rest of the match. Test of Time. All demons are going to have this, and most demons are going to have Head Start. Test of Time. This increases the duration of objective events for survivors while the demon player is inside the objective item's aura. So this is the counter to them being able to reduce how much time it takes. You put this on and this increases that time. So this is supposed to be the offset to that. Then you can also get Portal Authority Basic. So this is going to reduce the time that it's going to take for you to place portals. And you've got 3 different types of portals for your basic units, for your elite units, and then for your bosses. And when we go through the tutorial for the Kandarian Demon, you'll get to see all of these in action. Then you also get Gates of Hell Basic. Now, your other 2 demons are going to have these as well. I do believe your Necromancer has these abilities as well. Your Puppeteer does not have these abilities. They've only got these 2 abilities right here. And this is going to reduce the cooldown between being able to place your gates to summon your creatures. So you've got one for your basics, your elites, and then of course your boss. And then not everybody gets these little nice Infernal Energy talents, but this one is when you are in an area and you are fighting for an objective point, your Infernal Energy points will build up by themselves, build up by itself. You don't have to go around getting orbs, which you'll see. This increases how much that, or how fast that generates. Infernal Revenue, this is going to increase how much energy you receive from Infernal Orbs when you go over them. So this is good to have. She's special because she gets greater capacity for evil. So this increases the maximum amount of Infernal Energy that you could accumulate. So this essentially gives you a free upgrade to how much Infernal Energy you can collect from the Giddy Up before you have to waste points on it. So yeah, this is what Miss Nobi has going for her. She's very much about her debuffs, very much about, you know, she's got her heals that she could have on her units. You know, she's very much about her debuffs, very much about overwhelming the enemy. Like there's a couple of different ways that you could play this ability, this demon. And what her special ability is it's called Bad Influence. What this does is this creates an aura. And when you activate it while you're in spirit form, you'll actually see it go out and it looks red. Any of your demons or any of your minions that are in that aura range get buffed. So at level 1, what it does is that it will increase the power of surrounding evil units. Now it doesn't say what it means by power, so we're gonna assume it means their attack power. So this is gonna make them stronger. This is level 1. So I believe at level, because the way it's broken down is this is level 1, this is level 10, This is like level 10. Let me see. Because I don't want to say that and then that's not true. Yeah, you're going to have a level 1 talent here. You're going to have your next is going to be your level 15 talent. Next is going to be your level 25 talent, and next is going to be your level 45 talent. So what you're catching up with her is that at this point, once you get to your level 15 version, now you actually get to see what numbers it's bringing. So while this is active, and it is it's usually active for 20 seconds on a 30-second cooldown. So you can have this active pretty often. So, and you're meant to be able to do that because kind of without this ability, like her units are kind of weak. But when this ability is active, the damage of all things inside of it is increased by 35%, maximum health is increased by 35%, and the attack frequency is increased by 20%. So this means that they'll attack more often instead of just standing there flexing, which is what the demons like to do for whatever reason. They go when they're AI controlled. They usually go through a whole cycle where they'll attack, then they'll sit there and flex for a minute, and then they'll attack again. And like I said before, only 2 AI controlled minions will attack at a time. The rest will just stand in the back and look good. So keep that in mind. Really Bad Influence 2, which you get at level 25, just takes really bad influence and adds a 10% increase to everything that it normally did. So now you're up to 45% on your damage and health, and you're up to 30% on your attack frequency. Then finally, Really Bad Influence is taking everything else and further enhancing it by another 10%. So what that means is that now you're up to what, 30, 40, 55% damage, 55% health, and then what is that? 40% attack speed increase. On top of that, units cannot suffer balance bar damage. So what this means is that when they swing on you, even if they have weapons that do balance bar damage, which all weapons do it, it's not bothering your balance bar. They can't. This is the equivalent of with what Henry the Red's power is, where he has the shields where for 7 seconds he can't take damage. So this is your equivalent, only it's only to the balance bar. So it's a neat little ability to have. The bad news about this is that you'll activate this, but the survivors, if they have the right team composition, will just literally be able to just shred your guys down based off of how much health they have, and it won't even matter that they can't touch the balance bar. But anyway, you get 45 points to spend among all these talents. So that's how you're going to be speccing yourself up as a demon. So that's going to be the Warlord. Let's go ahead and let's jump to the Puppeteer. All right, so with our Puppeteer, as you can see, he's got a completely different thing going on here. We can even see that with his army. So Deadite Berserker, basic unit. So as you can see, he's got self-destruct, head rush, and dodge. So no more spewing vomit and no more starting with a weapon. But what happens is that Deadite Berserkers they have the ability to self-destruct. They will also explode when their health runs out. However, the self-destruct and their explosion when the health runs out is so telegraphed that the survivors have a chance to run away from it. How you mainly want to use that is that's something that you kind of want to have survivors keep in mind while they don't want to stay close together to your Deadites. Because if explosions do go off, you can actually do some pretty nasty damage with that. Also, these guys, whereas Henrietta's, the Warlord, if her minions are able to take off an arm and use it as a melee weapon, these guys snatch their head off. They take their head and they can throw their head at a target. So that's their ranged attack. They throw their head at the target and the head explodes. So pretty much the head does self-destruct damage. So That's what you'll use that as, is the ranged attack. And then of course they can dodge. But once you use the head rush, you have 18 seconds for your unit to live before your unit will die, because of course they have no head. So I think that it would be cool if they could actually continue living until you throw the head, or even after you throw the head, because you will still have 2 hands, so you can still attack. They just can't shoot you. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So those are the light units. The elite units, remember, no elite units have a dodge. Only your basic units are going to have a dodge. Your elite units would never have a dodge across all 3 demons. So what this guy does is, just like all elites, he can't be knocked back unless his balance bar is fully depleted. So all of your elites are going to share that ability. What this guy has is he's also resistant to damage from ranged weapons. So if people don't know that and they're just sitting there trying to tear him up with a ranged weapon, he takes so little damage from ranged weapons that it's not even funny. Pretty much a hunter has to go melee on this guy. Everybody has to go melee on this guy. As a result, he's gonna be doing, his main attack is, he's got basic attacks. Of course, everything has a light attack, everything has a heavy attack. His special abilities are Thunderstruck, which is an AoE attack. As long as the survivors are standing still, what happens is that it marks the area beneath them and then it erupts in a lightning strike, as long as the survivor stays in that area. But if they move, then it'll miss. So you do have talents to increase that range and that damage on that. So you want to look into that if you plan on using these guys a lot. Then you've also got Duplicity, in which this guy will split himself into a clone. And so his clone, unfortunately, will keep all of his damage, but will not keep his health. So essentially, all you have to do is look at his clone and his clone will die. But it's a neat little thing to have going on when the survivors are trying to figure out which one is the real one, which one is the main one. Because they've all got the same attack, so they can all do Thunderstruck. So that helps out a lot. For your heavy unit, and I should have gone over that with Henrietta too, I didn't go over her. So we'll go back and we'll go over her after this. But pretty much you have the same thing with your boss units, is that he can't be knocked back. However, when his balance bar is fully depleted, he will be stunned. So this is where the whole stun locking thing comes in at. So you just have to be careful with that, because once they deplete your balance bar, you get stunned. So that's free hits on them. This happens for your other units too if they're using blunt weapons and they've destroyed your balance bar. So Elagos is unique in that he is, and all of your bosses are going to have that same cannot be knocked back. However, when their balance bar is fully depleted, they'll be stunned. What Elagos brings to the table is that his basic attacks can be spec'd out so that they do bleed damage. So that's neat. But he's also got magic attacks. He's got his telekinetic surge, which is an AoE flash, which pretty much attacks every target and immobilizes them temporarily. So it does a little bit of damage, but it doesn't do a whole lot. He's also got casting stones, in which he'll pick up rocks from the ground and then he'll throw them. What sucks about this one is that the aim on it doesn't give you the option to aim. You kind of just point yourself at where you want it to go. So the aiming on casting stones kind of sucks. And it doesn't take into account, it doesn't seem to take into account if you're the terrain around you. So it's kind of hard to use that ability. Then he's got Psychic Squeeze, which is an ability that immobilizes the survivor, and is an attack that cannot be dodged, although you will see survivors doing it anyway, don't ask how. But they're not supposed to be able to dodge it. It's supposed to be an attack that the other survivors have to attack you in order for you to let go. So yeah, it's a pretty neat little ability. But unfortunately with him, be careful, because doing it leaves you wide open to attacks. He is not resistant to any types of damage. So that was this guy right here, not him. So he is not resistant to damage from ranged weapons. Orbs. So you want to watch out with that when it comes to him. So that's how Eligos rolls. And then, yeah, we were going to do Miss Nobi real fast. So let's run back and let's do that real fast. So what she has is she has Belly Flop, which Henrietta slams herself to the ground, damaging everyone unlucky enough to be within the shockwave. So she has an AoE. Gas Leak. Henrietta leaves a trail of toxic fumes behind her. This causes it to be hard for the players to see. Plus, you can take your damage up on that and the range. It's annoying to them. Then you got Granny Hug, which Henrietta squeezes a survivor's head. This attack cannot be dodged. This is like Eligos's hold. So all your bosses are gonna have a hold that's like this, to where the survivors have to attack them in order to get free. So that's Henrietta. So anyway, back to the talents. So, and as you know, like it says, he's invisible while he's moving. So he like disappears and you can see where he is, but the player cannot. So how you're going to be doing with Eligos is that everybody has Fear Factor, which reduces the fear level required before survivors become visible in Demon Vision. All this does is Demon Vision is the aura I talked about earlier that you see around a player character, a survivor. This just reduces the amount of fear it takes for you to see them that way. It does not cause them to appear on the map any faster. So be aware of that when you're messing with this talent. But he's got his Infernal Energy. He's got Wicked Fast, which increases the respawn speed of Infernal Orbs. So that's something that increases Infernal Orbs. Once you take them, they do respawn, but they're on a timer. This helps them respawn faster. Then Infernal Revenue, which is just like the other one, only you're getting less from his, but increases the amount of Infernal Energy received from Infernal Orbs. Then you get Head Start. You start with the maximum Infernal Energy. Then of course we know this talent, Test of Time, but you get a little bit more with him than you did with Miss Nobi. Then he's got one called Lurking in the Shadows, which the survivors can hear you. Even though when you're a demon, you are actually invisible to them. They can't see you. However, you do make a noise, you roar, and you can't control that. So that's how they know where you are. This reduces the range at which they hear that roar. So you could almost be like right up on them at 50%, and they won't know that you're there. And how does this help you? Because if the survivors know that you're there, then they can be prepared for you. So we know these talents. This is the one that reduces energy to possess a unit. This is the one that reduces the energy to stay in the unit. And then one of the things that he's got going on for him is he likes to possess things. So this reduces the amount it takes for you to possess a survivor, amount of fear needed. This actually allows it so that when you take over a survivor and they're in an objective area, this causes the timer to slow down. So this is to go on top of this, in which you cause that time to slow down. They have to spend more time defending, but it's dependent on you possessing somebody in that area. So just be aware of that. You've also got Demon Skin, which while you possess a survivor, they receive less damage, 10 to 20%. So while you possess a survivor, you take less damage. Weak-Minded reduces how much Infernal Energy that you need to possess a survivor, because yes, you do. And then this is Puppet Master, damage done. Melee and ranged attacks from possessed survivors inflict more damage. So this is if you just really want to go all the way towards possessing people. This is more about possessing your units, because this is where all your unit powers are going to come from. This is going to extend your Thunderstruck ability for your elites. This is the damage. This is for Eligos. This is his hold and how much damage it does, or actually the range. So it allows you to be further away and activate this ability. This is going to be for your explosion. So this is going to increase the damage of it. This is going to increase the range of it. This is when it comes to the demon has an ability that's like a charge, and we'll get to see it when we hit the tutorial. It looks like a mouth. this is when they use this ability, this incites fear or makes the fear rise and it scares the target. And that's when you get this picture. So what that does is that increases fear in the survivor, and it also gives you back a good chunk of infernal energy. So this reduces how long it takes for that cooldown to happen, So this reduces it to a 110-minute cooldown to a 90-second cooldown. So excuse me, 110-second cooldown to a 90-second cooldown. So yeah, it's still a long freaking cooldown. But this gives you back pretty much, this increases how much fear your dash does, because his thing is all about possession and you need to have your targets always with high fear. This is where that's helping you at. This is going to be your Gates of Hell for your basic and your elite. You do not get a Gates of Hell for your boss for him, unfortunately. So, but you do get Rocksteady Boss, which is increasing his balance bar. And then the same thing for your basics and your elites. You also get your health increase for your elites and your basics. But I do not believe you do not get a health increase for your boss, unfortunately. So up here is where you're going to increase the damage of your clones. So not their health, but their damage. Then here's where you get some utility from your attacking minions. And you have to be in possession of them. But your evil units, so this is the one that works for your evil units. So any of your units not control, you don't have to be controlling them, but when your evil units melee attacks hit a survivor, it causes their fear to increase per hit. Now this is kind of garbage if you ask me, because of how little fear it actually generates. So literally your minion is going to have to just have the time to just stand there and just pummel a survivor. So if you want to waste 3 points on it, I don't think it's worth it, but some people like it. It's an option. Your other ability that's like that is when your possessed evil unit hits a survivor, you gain infernal energy. So you could boost that up from 1 infernal energy, 2 infernal energy to 3 infernal energy per hit. This is kind of garbage too, with all things considered, that the other two, your Necromancer and your Warlord, can get infernal energy a whole lot easier than this. But you know, it's part of a play style, but this requires you to be in possession of your unit, whereas this one is just all your units. This is the talent Prison Rules, which is going to give Elagos his ability to do bleed damage as part of his attack. So that's going to be 5% of his damage is bleed. Then here's where you're going to do your heavy damage. So that's your basic, your elite, and your boss, which is going to increase the damage dealt by all these different units. Then for Elagos, you get a neat ability that is, it invigorates your possessions. So this one increases the maximum health gained and damage dealt by possessed basic units by 2, 5, 8%. Elites get 2, 5, and 10%. Then you get this ability called Kandarian Fury, which maximizes your damage for however long you stay in possession of a unit. So the longer you stay in it, the more your damage goes up. So all the way up to a 20% increase. So it's pretty neat. And this is based off of his ability, which is all about possession. When he power possesses somebody, he can do regular possessions, then he can do what's called power possession. A power possession gives him increased damage, increased health, and increased health. This is on a 90-second cooldown. However, it does have Relentless Evil, into which you can reduce that by 30%. So outside of that though, pretty much this ability is the only one that stays the same. It just increases by 5% for your first, by another 5%, and by another 5%. So it's pretty straightforward. The only thing that it ever increases is the health and the damage. So by the time you walk out, you actually have a good chunk of health and you got a okay chunk of damage. You stack that on top of these, and this makes it so that when you possess something, like, you're pretty darn nasty. Now just be careful, because you can still get beat up. So that's what his whole thing is about though, is it's about controlling his units, or it's about controlling the players. And yeah, that's his whole shtick. So that's our Puppeteer. Let's go ahead and let's move on to the Warlord. And I don't know why I said Warlord, I meant to say Necromancer. Here's the Necromancer. Alright, and as you can see, the Necromancer is got the same thing going on with certain talents, but we'll get into all those in just a second. For his army, basic unit follows the same thing. They can dodge, but his units are unique in that they've got shields. And skeletons defend themselves with a shield while walking or idling, but not while running or attacking. When the skeleton's balance bar drops to 0, it will lose its shield. So what this means is that his elite and basic units, because of those shields, as long as you're walking with the shield is up. As long as you're standing there, the shield is up. It is damage resistance. It's free damage resistance. So unless you're attacking, you always want to have your skeletons walking. So the skeletons, even for a basic unit, these guys are pretty cool. They have an AoE knockback, which is War Cry. And when they do that, it does a little bit of damage and knocks back any survivor within range. So you've got abilities that help capitalize on this. Then he's got Lunging Thrust, which pretty much it's powered up. It's telegraphed so the survivors can see it coming. But pretty much it's a super attack that he does where he pulls back his weapon and then he goes for a strike. So it's got very good range, but like I said, it's telegraphed, so the survivors are gonna see it coming. So use it when you're tricking them. Now we've got our elite units. So just like the other ones, they can't be knocked back unless their balance bar is fully depleted. They also have their shields. So when the balance bar drops to 0, then they lose the shield. So what they have is no dodge, of course, but they've got Trident Smash. And what this move is like this is like Henrietta's elites. Pretty much the skeleton will charge forward and then he'll swing his weapon and strike the ground and cause a shockwave. This move is super telegraphed and it takes forever to activate, so use with discretion. Trident Toss is the same way, although it takes less time. It's telegraphed, but this is the ranged attack. So if you could get this off, you can, oh my goodness, you can snipe. You can snipe really well. So, but because it's so telegraphed, if a survivor sees it coming, they're gonna dodge out of the way. And your final boss is Evil Ash. And just like all bosses, can't be knocked back unless his balance bar is fully, he can't be knocked back, but when his balance bar is depleted, he'll be stunned. So he's unique in that he is the only one who can actually summon units. And not only can he summon units with skeletal support, but then he can also resurrect those skeletons. And even if he didn't summon them, even if they're just out there and on the map, as long as they're in range of the aura, they can all come back. So this is what makes him nasty. He's also got Infernal Invigoration, how every boss has a hold move. His hold move lets him drain health from the survivor and put it back into himself. So he's got the best out of all the hold attacks. And then, which is something that we don't normally see a boss have, he's got a dodge. So you actually play this guy like a cracked out hunter. No, excuse me, like a cracked out warrior. So pretty much that's his bonus. And that's what you would do for him. And then for his setup, pretty much he's all about his armies. He's all about his armies. This is the guy who was the big bad boss of Army of Darkness. So of course he's going to be about his armies, and he's about reinforcing those armies. So you got your Rocksteady boss, of course, which is your balance bar. You got that for your elites. You got it for your regulars. You've even got health like right up front. So you can definitely tell what it's all about with him. This is going to increase your elite skeleton's Trident Smash. This is going to increase the damage of it. This is going to increase the range of it. This is going to increase the range of your War Cry for your basic units. So this is good to have because it's good at keeping people back, and it's good at disrupting them when they're trying to attack you. This is Portal Authority Elite, so this is the one that's going to reduce the amount of infernal energy required to place a portal. So he's got that for his elites and his basics, and I think he's got it for his boss too. Yeah, his boss is up here. So yeah. Then you actually have added effects just like how the Puppeteer had. You've got added effects for your charge. So it's called Demonic Dash. So he's got one that increases the amount of fear that survivors receive from the dash just like the Puppeteer has. He can increase fear by 50, 60, 75%. Then on top of that, he's got it, he can get energy from his. So when he dashes, he gets this much more energy from his dash. So he actually winds up getting the most energy out of his dash from the other two demons. On top of that, he's got one more, which is quick charge demonic dash. So what this means is that you have to actually charge this ability up and you have to take aim. This reduces how long you have to do that. So as you could tell, he's all about using his dash. So we've already seen that that's the portal. This is Infernal Refill, which is one of the ones that increases the energy generated when near active objectives. So he's got this, but as you can tell, that's not quite his thing, but he's got the ability. He's also got Test of Time, which as you can see, he doesn't get nearly as much on his duration, but if he did, trust me, it would be overpowered. Because he would have way too much time to be able to destroy you. And this guy has the potential to do it. Trident Missile, this is going to increase the damage dealt by the Trident throw attack. So you max this out and then if you're able to pull it off, man, this is where you can just snipe some people. One hit hurts. Then here's where we're talking about where we say Ash is our buffer. You can make it to where your skeletons attack more frequently with Bone Rage. And then here's where we start getting into Ash being the buffer. Other than that, you've got your Gates of Hell for your basic units. You got your damage increases for your elites, your basics, and your boss. Now, Ash can do irreparable damage, which survivors cannot gain health from any source after being hit by an evil Ash attack. So any attack, and for 4 seconds, they can't be healed. So trust me, need to have. This is for your Health Raiser boss, increases the maximum health of a boss unit. He's also got Healthy Bones. This increases the maximum health of the Skeleton Flutist. We'll talk about him in just a moment. Then this is Skeletal Reinforcements, where it increases the number of skeletons spawned when Evil Ash summons them. This just takes you up to 1. He can also get Widespread Skeleton Resurrection. Increases the duration of Evil Ash's skeletal resurrection skill by 25-30 seconds. Trust me, when this skill goes on and it lasts for that long, like anything that dies will just get resurrected. So it's a very powerful ability. It's one I'm definitely going to look into later on. Come Back Stronger. This is another really good ability. What this is this goes with resurrection. All resurrected skeletons have increased maximum health and come back with full health and can deal more damage. So your basic units come back with 40% more damage and 40% more health. Elite units also come back with 40% more damage, 40% more health. Now, this only stacks once. So like if they go back down again, they won't come back stronger than that and be at 80%. You know, it doesn't rise like that. They'll always just be at 40%. So, improved Infernal Invigoration increases the amount of healing that Evil Ash receives when he uses his Infernal Invigoration grab. So, this is for your hold and getting more energy back from that. So, good move to have. Just remember, while you're doing that hold, you are open to damage. Any of the holds, you're open to damage. Expanded Skeletal Support increases the area of effect of Evil Ash's skeletal resurrection skill. So if this extends the time, this extends the time, this extends the range. This extends the duration, this extends the range. So very good items to have. And that pretty much rounds out all of his stuff with the exception of Flute Force, which increases the flute effect range by 55 meters. Then we start going into buff bones, which increases the health and damage dealt by skeletons that Evil Ash summons to battle. So you can keep working that summoning spell, and this buff bones is going to bring them in stronger, and then when you bring them back stronger, like this is gonna double stack. So pretty much, yeah, you're gonna get that 20 health when you first bring them in and 20% increased damage, but then when they come back stronger, they're gonna come back with 40. So they'll come in strong and come back stronger. Speed Summoner. This reduces the cooldown of Evil Ash's summoning ability. So you definitely want this because, like I said, you're gonna want to be summoning all the skeletons in the world. And then this is Relentless Evil, which reduces the cooldown of your active skill. And our buddy's active skill is what's called his Skeletal Flutist. And what this is this flutist can be placed anywhere on the map, but normally it's gonna get placed close to within, let's see, 55 meters once you get this talent of any of the other units. What it does is it plays music that increases damage by 70% and reduces how much damage units take by 30%. And it does this, it's on a 75-second cooldown, but you can go get this, so you reduce that by 20%. It's on a 75-second cooldown by default, but it lasts for 90 seconds. It generates a unit, and the unit will play the music. Unfortunately, the survivors can see and hear this unit. So if they find it and destroy it, because it can't defend itself, it just plays music. So if they find it and destroy it, then your units will lose the buff. Skelephobia. Skeletons increase the fear level of survivors near them. So this is going to be your rank 15 talent. You'll get that. So they increase fear by 15%. Increase the fear, yeah, 15%. So just being near skeletons makes you scared. And then for your level 25 talent, you're gonna be doing motivational music, which is going to increase the bonus damage and defense that the flutist provides to nearby evil units by 20%. So it's gonna take this and 70, 80, 90% increase in damage and 30, 40, 50% damage reduction. So okay, this guy, by the time you get here, you start making your units crazy strong. So this is why you get like some basic stuff in here to make your units strong. Other than that, it all comes from here. So unfortunately, it means that a lot of your play is based on having this guy up. And then last but not least, skeletal injury. Skeletons increase the damage received by nearby survivors by 10%. So all your units are freaking skeletons. So that means that by default, your guys are always going to be all survivors will automatically be taking 10% more damage. So yeah, so this guy is all about, he's from Army of Darkness, he's about creating armies of darkness. He's all about that, and his talents reflect that and give him the ability to do that. And pretty much you can set yourself up however you want to. Do you want to be an Army of Darkness creator, or do you want to be more about using Evil Ash at his maximum, or do you want to be more about using your units to their maximum, and then Evil Ash comes in as like icing on top of the cake? So it's pretty much all about what you want to do as this guy. You have a whole lot of options, just like you do for all the different demons. So with that having been said, let's go ahead and take a look at what it's like to be a demon. So let's hit that tutorial. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in here. We want Kandarian demon. All right, and because we want to be able to show you what that looks like,
slice that gizzard open.
We'll show you what it looks like with Mr. Necromancer. So that growl, that's what you can't control. But this is what you look like as a demon. Pretty much, you are that disembodied thing that like the camera from the Evil Dead series. Like that's what you are. So you move around like that. If you'll notice, you got your icons at the top just like the others. And then if you notice, everything is down at the bottom. You've got B, which B is going to be your, that's going to be whatever your talent on the left side is. So this is going to be your special ability. All the things that are in the center, on the right, on the left, that is your basic unit summon. In the center is your boss unit summon. And on the right is your elite unit summon. And then where you see right button at where it looks like someone is scared, that is how you scare somebody. So pretty much you charge that up like that. See how that mouth appears? See how it flared? Then you let go. And you normally do that to survivors and you charge in at them and then it'll say scared. The survivors are scared and then it'll show you who you scared. And then that's normally how you pull up infernal energy and incite fear in them. But pretty much this is what you do. You go through here and in this form, you're pretty much picking up these pretty little orbs. And these are infernal energy orbs. So this is what you're gonna be doing. And you can go inside of places, but be careful because right now they've got it set up to where hopefully they'll fix it. But when you move inside, you move slower. And it can be bugged to where when you move back outside, instead of moving faster like you're supposed to, you'll still be moving slow. And the only way to get rid of that bug is to possess a car, drive it for a little bit, and then jump out of the body. So yeah, so pretty much this is what you do. As you can see the amulets. And you can see all the Shemps. But you cannot pick them up. You cannot interact with them. And you can go out of windows. So just like how you could vault with your survivors, you can go out of the windows. So now we're talking about possession. See, there's the weapon. You can't pick it up, but here's your units and here's what your units will look like to you. See, these are my skeletons. Now, if I want to turn them into big badasses, I hit B. And that's what my flutist looks like. So he does that, and that's all he does. He can't attack, he has no shields, nothing of the sort. So what he's going to be doing is if you look at my units, whoops, you'll notice that they have this red glow over their heads now. So that's showing you that they're getting the damage bonus. Now, when you possess a unit, we made sure that we've had infernal energy. So now, that's what it looks like when you possess a unit. And they even talk. And so see, you get all your different attacks, and how that works is they're on cooldowns instead of them being based on how much stamina you have. Here is that wind up. See, so that's why I said that's got a way long wind up. And then here's War Cry. And so as you can see, you see how it's taking energy from me to stay inside. So I have to get out, or else it's just gonna kick me out. All right, so we go back to collecting infernal energy. And what we do, and that's pretty much what you're going to be doing, possessing units, harassing the survivors, because when you start, you're gonna start at one point, and they're gonna start at another point. So what you have to do is you have to find them. Of course, you're gonna be waiting on them to make noise and such. You're gonna be trying to find them, or you're going to be trying to level up, because whereas the survivors have the pink F system, the demons have the infernal upgrade points, also known as the threat level up. This is how they progress. Your threat level starts at 1. The more you do things such as plant traps, which we're gonna see shortly. Normally when you have your houses, you're normally gonna have traps, but our traps aren't here. So this is what vehicle possession looks like. So as you can see, even when I possess a vehicle, I can run over my units. So you can destroy your own units, so be careful with that. So there you go. Now, when we move into here, if the map would have been here, we would have seen the icon. So if you're playing Demon and you move to the area where the map piece is, then you will see it. It'll look like the icon just like if you were a survivor. However, it's just like survivor rules. Only one piece is going to appear at a time. You can't see the pieces ahead of time. So you'll be doing that, and then what you'll also be doing is you're going to be placing traps. And this is what I was talking about when I said that. You could put them on trees. You can even possess a tree. And what that allows you to do is if survivors are nearby when you do that, it generates fear. So you want to do that, or what you're going to be doing is, let's put our guy over here for a little bit of music. Or what you're going to be doing is you're going to be placing traps. Remember how I told you you've got Ash's Hand, or you've got Mini Ashes? These are the only two you've got for right now. So you trap like that. And when you do this, this gives you threat level power. See, it gives you 100 per trap. Doesn't matter which one you use, you're gonna get 100 no matter what. And then each one is gonna give you your different levels, and it's gonna cost different amounts to activate. So this is why you're going around getting this stuff, because it is your fuel for everything, as you can see. Like without it, you can't place traps, you can't possess things, like it's your lifeblood. So like right here, this trap is gonna be 15 to set, but it's only gonna give me 10 in my threat level, which you can see down there in the bottom left corner. And so I could just keep doing this, but this is what the traps look like when they're inside of buildings or when they're freestanding. And this is what they're gonna look like to you. So the survivors can't see that, and then they'll light up like that. So that's what the ones that are like inside and in open areas, they're gonna look like this. So now what you're going to be doing is, and as you can hear, that was my unit. His time expired. So after his time expires, he'll automatically blow up. So what you're looking at is infernal energy. The first thing is that infernal energy, this is how much you can hold. So a cool thing about the Warlord and the Necromancer is that starting at level 3, they start auto-generating a point of infernal energy per second, all the way up to being able to regenerate 2.5 points of infernal energy per second. Now hold on to your britches before you take off and start putting points into this. Each one of your levels is actually it's level restricted. So what this means is that, like, you could put the 2 points into this, but once you get to level 2, you have to get to threat level 5 before you can upgrade to level 3. And then once you get to level 3, you have to be threat level 8, I believe it is, before you upgrade to level 4, and so on and so forth. And it's like that for all of these, except for Demon Vision and Traps. And for traps, what you'll be doing is, this is universal across all. You're gonna increase your your fear that traps generate, either up to 20% to 40% or 60%, and your traps will spawn an elite unit. So what this means is that normally your traps spawn a single regular unit, so when they're triggered. So now they'll spawn elite units. So be careful with that, because if you're not spec'd for it or what have you, then it's almost kind of a waste, and then depending on who you're playing it, but you can use this however you want to. Demon Vision, I would say, is pointless to use, to waste points on, because all it does is it just, remember how I said if they make noise you can see them? This just reduces how This actually increases how long they stay on the map after they make noise. This also increases how far away you can see them with demon vision. This also reduces how much fear that is needed for you always to be able to detect them. So this is the only thing that helps you with detecting them on the map. And once you get up to level 3, then you have a 40% reduction of fear needed to always detect them. So you would think it would help you find them, but it really doesn't help you find the survivors in the way that you think it would. So it's kind of worthless to spend your points on. It's even worthless to spend your upgrade points on when you're in the regular trees. Boss, this is going to give you the ability to unlock all your portals. So level 1 gives you basic, for its first level, basic. Elite unlocks the portal. For boss, unlocks the portal. Everything after that is going to give you cost reductions for placing the portals, and it's also going to give you your units more health and damage when they come out of those portals. And pretty much this is what you're dealing with when you're dealing with that. Let's go get some Infernal energy. And as you can see, as I get my Infernal energy, all the other ones light up. Now, let's go ahead and show you what a basic one will look like. So you can do one or two things. So what you do is you hold down your triggers. You hold down your left one for a regular unit. You hold down your right one for an elite unit, or you hold down both to summon your boss. You have two different traps that you could place. The one that looks like it has a mouth icon, that is called a proximity trap. It looks like that. Now, what proximity traps do is they function just like this trap over here. When somebody gets close to it, it's gonna trigger and it's going to launch out, it's gonna launch some guys out. Now, your traps like this, I believe, launch out too. Whereas your regular traps that look like this, that are the freestanding ones, like that one over there, they only launch out one. So just be aware of that. And then what your other one does, and that doesn't cost you any Infernal energy to break him out anyway. Now, what your other one does that looks like an explosion is it brings your unit into existence right here, right now, like so. So there you go. Now you've got two units that are ready to go. And as you can see, there's a cooldown happening. So until that cooldown is up, I cannot place another basic portal. So what we're gonna look at is jacking up our Infernal energy to max. Then we're gonna show you our boss jacked up to max, which unfortunately I need threat level 16 for that. So see how it's restricted. Portal elite, I could take that to full. I could take that to full. Possession is gonna be good because this is gonna give you extra and extended buffs on your demons when you possess them. So it's gonna be +5 to your balance bar. Like, all of this is different, and all of this is going to be this one is actually the same when compared to the Warlord. However, for your Puppeteer, for Warlord and for Necromancer, you cannot touch possession until you have reached threat level 6. For your Puppeteer, however, you can touch it from the very beginning. However, once you put points into it, you then can't touch it again until you reach level 3 on your threat level. So pretty much just having more having better portals just reduces their cost, increases the amount of health and damage that the creatures do that come out of them. Full basic portal will give you one additional unit that is summoned. So that means you get 3 units instead of 2. Portal elite just increases that unit health and damage. Boss actually makes it to where you get a reduce on the cooldown, a reduce on the cost, a reduce on a plus on how much health you get back and how much damage you do. Also, your last level on boss makes you immune to being stunned. So that means that your boss cannot be stunned. So they can do whatever they want to. The only way that they're winning is they have to actually bring your level down. So here's what this would look like if we were in a fight. We will bring in some basics. We'll bring in this guy. And then we will bring in our boss. And he would look like this. See? There's our 2 extra skeletons. And as you can hear, they're all buffed up by his power. And then we would hit Y and see this red ring. Anything that is in that red ring that dies is going to be resurrected automatically. And as you can see, that's going on right now. And it lasts for 20 seconds, unbuffed. And so this is what I will be fighting up against. This is what I will be doing. And you cannot hit your own unit, so don't worry. And yeah, so this is what you would do. And as you can see, he fights just like a whatchamacallit. So we're gonna go ahead and put him down now. And as you can see, it'll go into the cooldown after you have summoned your boss. And it's a really, really, really long cooldown. So, and also be aware that with your Necromancer, because it is his duty to summon in armies, he actually gets 2 portals per summon. So what this means is that I could literally then let my energy charge up. Like, he's built to be able to have an army. He's all about that. He's all about that. And see, if I had the Infernal energy, I could have dropped another one. So having that Infernal energy allowed me to drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units right there on the spot. And if I had more Infernal energy right now, I'd be able to drop even more. So as you can see, here's my other units. They're all still here. So that's what you do with him. And that's his thing. He's all about his armies. So be warned, because you can see these. You can't do anything to them as a demon, but it does let you know where their light points are. So you can do something nasty like this. So now when they walk near that, they're gonna trigger it. And those guys aren't gonna be able to do a darn thing. So normally, here is where you will be defending the old ones. And then like back here, where we had the objective points, that's where you would have been defending the objective points. As long as you're in the objective points, your Infernal energy builds by itself. So just like here, my Infernal energy would build by itself. So see how my energy is charging back up? And see how they're attacking? And that's what you want to do. That's going to be what you do as a demon. And you either want to destroy the Necronomicon or you want to use your units to destroy all the survivors that are nearby. So trust me, that was easy. That made it look easy, but that Necronomicon has crazy hit points. So just know that before you go in thinking that you're gonna be able to take that Necronomicon out. You're not gonna have enough time. It has a whole lot of health. But you can do it and it can be done. So you just have to get on top of it ahead of time. So that is what you will be doing as the demon player. You're going to be spending a whole lot of time disembodied. You're going to be planting your traps. You're going to be planting your portals. You can only have one of each proximity portal down at a time. So that means that if you have one basic proximity portal, you cannot, if you place another one, then it's going to erase the other one that you previously placed. And then and then your second one, it will only allow you to have one proximity portal of one down at a time before it overwrites it. So say for instance, you can have an elite and a basic portal down, proximity portal down. You can have those two, but if you go and you put down another of either one of those, wherever you put the new one at, it's going to overwrite your old one. So you can only have one of each up at a time. As far as explosives, where you just bring them straight in, depending on which demon you play, as the Necromancer, as you can see, the Necromancer has 2 sets. So the Necromancer is always going to be able to bring in their stuff in 2 sets. Your Warlord is going to have 2 sets on her basic units, but she's only going to have 1 set on her elite units. And unfortunately, your Puppeteer is going to have 1 set on his basic units and 1 set on his elite units. So it really kind of sucks. But yeah, he's only got 1 set on each. And he's just different because he also does not get the ability to regenerate his infernal energy as part of his infernal energy upgrade. So just be aware of that before you select the Puppeteer. So those are your differences that you're gonna see, and those are the only real differences. It's just that your Puppeteer has access to possession before the other two, and then the other two have access to being able to generate infernal energy way before the Puppeteer does. The Puppeteer has to actually go all the way up to level 5 in his infernal energy before he even starts generating, and where everybody else is generating 2.5 energy, he's only doing 1.5. So with that having been said, I do believe that we have brought all that to a close. We already talked about being able to possess automobiles. Be careful with that because for whatever reason, it drains an obscene amount of energy. So also, you can be attacked while you're in a vehicle, and every attack that you sustain while you're in a vehicle, it drains your infernal energy. So watch out, vehicles could be a trap sometimes. And I do believe that that is going to be all that we need to cover when it comes to our demon guys. So yeah, so let's go ahead and let's get ready to wrap this up. All right, so those are 3 bringers of evil. And as I said, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap things up. I guess what I will go ahead and say is Evil Dead is one of those types of games to where, like, you can see how it plays. If you like these types of games, like this is a really awesome game. And I enjoy playing it, and I look forward to everything that they're going to bring out for this game. But I will say these things, and these are things that everybody needs to know about this game before you hurry up and buy. Number 1 is that there are currently no level brackets. Let me go ahead and hush him up because he'll keep laughing in the background. So we just wanna, cause she floats and she sounds all gooey and stuff. So let's just put him in here. All right, to get back to the point. All right, there are currently, unfortunately, in this game, like when you play, you're gonna be coming in, and as a survivor, you've got exploration, which is going to let you explore the maps. There are demons, minions on the map, but they're weak and you can take them. But this is pretty much about just exploring the map. You're all by yourself, just you and the demon. This is going to be your main mode as Survivor. This is where you're going to go online and you're going to play against, you're going to have 3 other people who are controlled by a player like you, and the demon player is going to be controlled by a player. This is where you're going to go if you want to play as the demon versus survivors. Now, survivors have this option for them. They can play as survivors, and they could go up against the AI. Now, what this means is that this team is chosen just like if you were playing this mode. The only difference is that you're up against an AI demon instead of a human demon. So, unfortunately for this mode, you get less experience than you do for this mode. Like, you literally get 1/4 of the experience. So, this mode is just for people who are just getting into the game, learning the game and everything else, want to test out teams and all of that stuff. This is the place for you to go. Unfortunately, demons do not have that luxury. For demons, it's here or nothing. You can also play solo, which means that you play as with an AI controlled team against an AI controlled demon. You get no points for doing this though, but this is good if you want to study your characters or figure out how much damage your characters are doing, because unfortunately, demons cannot see how much damage they're doing when they do it, but player characters can. So, and in private matches, if you want to play with friends in a closed game, you get no experience for this though. So, with that having been said, back to the point, there's no level, there's no matchmaking. There's no level brackets in this. So that means that there's no level restrictions for team matchmaking. So a level 1 player can get placed into a game with players their level, mid-level, or max level. And this happens on both the survivor and demon sides. So what you can have is a low-level survivor team dealing with a max-level demon player. Or you can get a max-level survivor team dealing with a level 1 demon. You know, or you can get a mix and match of both. Like it's kind of the way it is, and it's not fresh for either side, but hopefully that's going to be something that they fix for now. So as if you're a beginner to this game, I would definitely say play survivor versus AI so that you get get the hang of the game and you don't just get your face bashed in, because unfortunately demon players can be thirsty and demon players can be nasty, and they'll go directly after. They'll find out who the lowest level 1 is based off of which moves you are or are not doing, and they'll target you. So you don't want that. You don't want that. So number 2, before you hurry up and buy, is be aware that this game currently has a problem with cheaters, hackers, and bots. Now the bots not so much, but I've seen them. But you do have plenty of cheaters and hackers. It's not all the time, it's not every match, but it's enough to bring it to attention. So just be aware of that, and be aware that it exists more on the survivor side than it does on the demon side. There's a couple of things that are going on demon side that are not quite right, and when you see them, you know them. But on the survivor side, it's a little bit more subtle, and they can get away with a whole lot more. And so that's where you've been seeing it at, is because, you know, a whole lot of people are more down to play as survivors. But outside of that, I guess you could say number 3, demon players. As I've said earlier, one final time I'm going to say it, know that there are currently some survivor team compositions that you will not be able to beat, because you cannot spec to be able to do it. There's nothing you can do about it. Hopefully this will be something that gets changed in the future, but as it stands right now, you're going to have these teams. So just be ready for that, because it doesn't matter what level you are, they're still going to be able to beat you. So just keep that up in your mind. And you know what, other than that, I think that's going to be it. Please feel free to hurry up and buy. Like, this is a good game. As of this episode, the game has just recently passed its 2-month mark. So it has, like I said, a whole lot of room for growth and improvement. And like I said, I see that happening for this game. The makers of it, Saber Interactive, they seem to be listening and paying attention to what their players are telling them. Now, it's taking them time because, you know, of course they have to do this realistically. But This game has so much potential. It's too early right now to say that it's doomed, and it's too early right now to say that it's dead. All games go through growing pains, and boy, is this one going through some growing pains right now. But I think it's going to be able to make it through, and you know, everything has to, nothing ever just comes straight out and has a mellow start. You always have a rocky start, and then you smooth out the kinks and make it better as you go. So on that note, I have enjoyed playing this game. I look forward to coming back to it and playing and seeing what updates they bring to it, and just seeing how they expand it. But until that time comes, and until it becomes a better play experience, I just won't be playing it on stream. I'll be moving on to other things as of right now, because it's just same stuff, different day otherwise. So thank you guys all for watching. I hope you found this episode informative, a little bit different. And after this, it's gonna be back to Stray. So thank you all for watching. If you guys did like this episode, you guys know what to do. And I am going to go ahead and catch you guys later. I am Paiper Zombie. Catch you next time.